Anyway, with a new identity, Chu Mu still has to go to see his new company. Today, the commissioner of S.H.I.E.L.D. will come to sign the contract, and he, the absolute controlling shareholder, must also be present. The front foot has just finished dealing with S.H.I.E.L.D., but the back foot will be involved with it again. This is really a lingering organization. Because this company has a relationship with me, the work of researching super soldier serum fell to Umbrella Biotechnology? Chu Mu secretly guessed. Although he has just obtained this status, Almighty I has the power of reversing cause and effect after all, and it doesn't matter how it modifies the history of the universe. The super soldier serum is the thing that Captain America Steve played. It seems that Banner turned green because he was researching this thing. Green Goblin was also born because of the Osborn industry, who wanted to restore this serum. I don't know what the results of my company's research on it will be. In fact, Chu Mu doesn't think highly of the super soldier serum. At most, this serum can strengthen a stronger person who is more resistant to beatings. Can't even resist bullets. Not to mention playing an important role in modern warfare, and I don't know why the military and S.H.I.E.L.D. are so persistent. Do you really think anyone who gets the serum can become Captain America? Although it is a tasteless strengthening agent, if possible, let the Umbrella do its best research. The exclusive rewards for this identity are not ordinary. Chu Mu was very excited about the reward of Super Serum. As the name suggests, Super Serum. It is a strengthening agent that can stably obtain a super ability after injection. Perhaps the super ability obtained by the user is not very powerful, but the main advantage is that it is stable and controllable, and the benefits that can be created are absolutely huge. Definitely. Money. Unimportant. Mainly as boys. Who wouldn't want to have an army of superpowers? Sky. Chu Mu felt that when he went to the company to sign the contract, he should bring a little secretary to fill the bill, so he called for his chore assistant. What's the matter? Pour coffee. Sky poked his head through the door into the office. She also had a crab in her mouth. Hurry up and dress up, and I'll take you to see the world. Chu Mu asked Sky to put on professional clothing, which was the black silk long-legged style. He himself put on the only suit. Why are you making it so formal? Could it be that you have fooled another investor? Sky tugged at the tight clothes on his body with some awkwardness. Hee. Do I still need to fool others? Chu Mu straightened his tie and admired his dog-like image in front of the mirror. Today, I won't pretend to be the boss. It's a showdown. In fact, I'm a billionaire. Chu Mu only felt that this sentence was really cool. However, Sky had a contemptuous expression on his face. Director, are you awake? If you haven't woken up, go back and get some more sleep. In the week not long ago, a down-and-out director who needed his employees to pay for his meals could suddenly become a billionaire? Sky didn't believe such nonsense. So, the billionaire's card is to take his secretary to take the New York bus, right? After leaving the Star Building with Chu Mu and boarding a bus. Sky looked at Chu Mu with a cheerful face. I have a luxury car, but I don't want to drive it, understand? After Chu Mu accepted the status of top rich man, he definitely also got a luxury car and a mansion. It's just that those things are in another city. I don't believe it. Unless you take me to see it. Sky laughed while covering her stomach. She just thought that Chu Mu was so funny today. Chu Mu felt that Sky was forcing himself to pretend. Driver. Turn around. All right. The bus driver obviously didn't like this, so Chu Mu could only take Sky to get off at the platform in front of him, and boarded a taxi again. It's not necessary, boss. You don't have to slap your face to make yourself fat, and taxis in New York are not cheap. Sky covered his stomach while laughing. Wait until the taxi reaches the area where Chu Mu's mansion is located. Is this where the investors live? Sky was like Grandma Lu entering the Grandview Garden, feeling novel and amazed by everything around her. She thought that the place Chu Mu brought her to was the environment where investors in new dramas lived, and she couldn't help saying that rich people would really enjoy it. Manors and mansions are everywhere. Moreover, police cars would patrol the surrounding streets every few minutes. The security and surrounding environment were unimaginable for ordinary people. Investor. This is where your boss used to live. I'm tired of living here. You know, I like the life in the company where I eat boxed lunches with everyone and sleep in the office. Chu Mu walked towards one of the manors. At first, Sky thought that Chu Mu was still joking. However, after seeing the big iron gate of the manor automatically recognized Chu Mu's face and said, "Welcome home." Sky's eyes widened immediately, and his face was full of tears. Incredibly shocked expression. You are really rich. Sky was a little awkward to speak. Somewhat in a daze, she followed Chu Mu into the mansion. Looking at the resplendent and magnificent decorations around her, she only felt that she might be the one who didn't wake up. The director who doesn't even have money for coffee. There is such a big house. God. What the hell kind of joke is this? If not. In this mansion, Chu Mu changed into a high-end suit again, and then left the manor with Sky who hadn't recovered. Porsche is a luxury car favored by many wealthy people, and Chu Mu owns several curry cars. He has finally experienced the happiness of chaebol. Speeding on the road in a luxury car. The co-pilot seat is also a beautiful girl. Outside on the street. From time to time, there are young people who frequently look sideways. This life. It's really beautiful. You really want to experience the life of the poor because you are tired of living the life of the rich. Sky finally came to his senses. She thought it was outrageous. The life of the rich. Is it really so unexpected? That's right. I've broken away from the low-level fun of the rich, and I want to relive the beauty of the hard work. Chu Mu definitely couldn't say that this is the status he got. He had a good way of pretending, and he also frightened Sky, a clever ghost, and Sky was stunned for a long time in the passenger seat. She looked at the exquisite interior of the luxury car, and suddenly, her eyes became fierce, and she turned her head and shouted at Chu Mu angrily. Bastard. Pay back my hard-earned money. Hurry up and pay me this month's salary. If Chu Mu was not driving, Sky would be so angry that he would have strangled Chu Mu's neck. I thought he was a director who was at a low point in his life, but now he actually told her that the so-called low point in his life was just the other party's attitude towards life in the game life. Sky just felt that he was numb. How could the joys and sorrows of people be so different? The most important thing is that you are so rich and still owe your employees wages. Sky looked at Chu Mu with more resentful eyes. Send. Chu Mu just wanted to show off his pride and said that he would directly pay double salary this month, but he had just said his words and has not finished. Boom. There was an accident just before the highway. A bus. It crashed and fell onto the road ahead, crushing the cars that couldn't dodge into discus, and the terrified crowd ran away screaming in panic. The streets that were originally harmonious and orderly fell into chaos in an instant. Sudden event. The crowd on the road was in a mess. Obviously. There was an abnormal riot in the city. Facing the terrible danger ahead, many people chose to abandon their cars and flee. What happened? Sky was also in shock at the moment. The bus that fell and smashed several cars just now was not far from the Porsche she and Chu Mu were in. Splash over the tires. It seems that the front of the Porsche has been smashed. Just a little bit. Looking at the blood splattered from the cars in front, Sky knew very well that the drivers and passengers sitting inside must be in danger. The look of fear on her face was hard to hide, and her legs were a little weak. It's just that where have ordinary teenage girls seen such a scene? Quick. Quick. Let's run too. Sky held Chu Mu's arm tightly with one hand, and proposed to Chu Mu with a trembling voice. I don't think it's a good idea to run away. Don't get out of the car. I'll go over and have a look. Chu Mu's expression looked a little ugly. His eyesight is far superior to that of ordinary people, so he can see what kind of accident happened in front of Sky who can't see it. I see. On the road in the distance. A person with red lines on his body, flowing slowly like tiny magma, is wantonly destroying the facilities on the road. He seems to have extremely terrifying strength. Even a heavyweight truck can be easily lifted up and thrown towards the crowd. Mutant? Chu Mu couldn't judge the identity of this saboteur. He only knew that the luxury car Porsche he just drove was scrapped, and now he was very angry and needed to talk to the culprit about compensation. F*K it. Chu Mu opened the car door angrily. Nima. The doors are shapeshifting. What time is it? Don't be a hero. The trouble ahead must be mutant. They are a group of extremely terrifying guys. Sky wants to hold Chu Mu to prevent Chu Mu from taking risks. She often hacks some encrypted websites, and it is clear how dangerous mutant is. Officials have been blocking information about this group. He is the ancestor. I have to pay for my Porsche. Chu Mu felt sorry for his car, which was the first luxury car he had ever driven in his life. Sky definitely couldn't hold back Chu Mu. Seeing that Chu Mu was already angrily running towards the place where the accident happened. She gritted her teeth and hesitated for a while. Also want to chase the past. If you die too, I will have no family again. Sky realized at this time that he had taken Chu Mu seriously. She doesn't know that Chu Mu is not an ordinary person. I just think that Chu Mu is a weird boss who is rich and likes to film. This boss made her feel what it is like to have a family for the first time. Wait for me. Sky felt that this time he and Chumyu must be dead. Damn rich man, he really has a problem with his brain. He ran to die just for a car. He really thought that if he has money, he can do whatever he wants. Pour my salary. I won't be able to get it until I die. Sky was anxious to catch up with Chumyu, therefore. It also runs very fast. Did not pay too much attention to the environment on the road. Therefore. Podgy, when passing the wreckage of the bus, Sky tripped over something and fell to the ground in great pain. What is this? Sky got up from the ground and looked to the rear. While beating the dust off her body, she angrily picked up the culprit who tripped her. It was a black suitcase with the 3 numbers on it, and the words, "Absolutely confidential," attached. Confidential. Sky picked up the suitcase. This suitcase didn't need to enter any password, and she easily took out the contents. It was just a metal ingot. It looks a bit cool, but that's it. It looks like. It seems to be something that fell from a destroyed bus. There are no living people in it, and I don't know who bought the artwork, and even pretended to make a confidential packing box, probably to give it to a friend who suffers from chunibia. This bloody world. Sky looked at a group of passengers who were completely dead in the wreckage of the bus next to him, feeling extremely heavy while feeling fear. Inside the bus. The young girl with only half of her body left made Sky suddenly discover that this bus was the one she and Chumyu had taken before. If we hadn't gotten out of the car. A chill ran down Sky's spine. I was terrified. It's not much better now. Damn the director. He likes to be a hero and meddle in his own business. Do you really think he's a superhuman? Sky interpreted Chu Emu's behavior of rushing into the chaotic road as Chu Emu's imagination to be a hero. This is simply too deep into the drama. And also. Even Homelander. And I won't care about other people's lives or not. Sky is not a Madonna. She just wants herself and the people she cares about to be fine. Gritting her teeth, enduring the severe pain of her crooked foot, Sky still planned to go ahead to find Chumyu. She held something that looked like a metal iron ingot in her hand and just started to step up, but suddenly, she only felt dizzy. What happened? Sky's vision began to blur, and her ears were buzzing. Before she could react, her consciousness sank and she fell to the ground suddenly. On the surface of the iron ingot that she still held in her hand, at the moment, runes actually flowed, shining brightly and darkly like human breath. After Sky fell to the ground, not for a while, a black Chevrolet drove up from behind. A woman wearing leather jacket and leather pants stepped out of the co-pilot seat. It was Black Widow Natasha Romanoff, one of the female village chiefs of S.H.I.E.L.D. Isn't this the help from Chumyu? Natasha Romanoff saw the unconscious Sky on the ground, and couldn't help but look at the Hill agent next to him in astonishment. Not to mention that the agent has the basic skills of photographic memory, and they also filmed the scene with Sky for so many days, so it is impossible not to know who this is. Alive. The Hill agent checked Sky's physical condition, and there was nothing wrong with him, and there was no wound on his body, except that his heartbeat was a little faster. I don't know why I passed out in this place. Take her to the hospital first. Phil Coulson told me he's on the other side of the street and he handles paranormal events better than we do. Natasha Romanoff covered the earphones on her ears, as if she had received the order. They were originally performing another mission nearby. Unexpectedly, she encountered this kind of trouble. Natasha Romanoff looked at the constantly exploding streets in the distance. She felt that the world today was too crazy. Perhaps this is because technology has brought about changes and crises at the same time. And many more. Hill agent noticed the metal ingot in Sky's hand in the black box that fell to the side, and his expression suddenly became a little dignified. If my memory is correct, this is the item that was lost in the bureau. How did it end up in this girl's hands? Agent Hill carefully pulled out a device. Using a device that unfolded like a metal clip, she removed the metal ingot from Sky and put it back in the black case. The director said that the loss of this item has something to do with the insane reformer. Perhaps it was accidentally picked up by this girl. Natasha Romanoff's headset has a constant communication going on. This girl. It's a miracle she's still alive. Hill agent looked at Sky, whose vital signs were stable, with a surprised expression. She knew that the metal ingot belonged to someone who touched it and died. If Chumyu is here, maybe you can recognize the true identity of the metal ingot, the obelisk. Hydra believes it has the power to explain death originally. However, the obelisk is actually just a prop used by the alien Kree to transform humans into weapons, and the Inhumans will use it to awakening the abilities hidden in their bodies. This is a secret that S.H.I.E.L.D. does not yet know. Definitely. Not completely clueless. About this point, I know a little more than you because of the reason I got involved in it. None of the people around the great director is a normal person. Natasha Romanoff didn't say much. Hill Agent also understands. She probably doesn't have the authority to know the specific information. The SHIELD hierarchy was established by her, a level 9 agent. Hurry up. Natasha Romanoff helped Hill Agent to help Sky into the car. Immediately. Turning around at the Hill Agent, she took out her binoculars. Take a look at the situation ahead. It seems that our Homelander is still a superhero? Hey, is it really so powerful? I think we should take care of his little girlfriend. Hill Agent curiously snatched the telescope. After a while. I think you're right. Save my child. God. What the hell is going on? Some injured citizens along the way were crying and moaning helplessly. Chu Mu also extended a helping hand to those in distress. Some people who were pinned down by the vehicle were rescued by him from under the vehicle. Just a car. Things weighing several tons or tens of tons. Chu Mu lifts them as easily as a table. See, over there, that bald man with sunglasses, go find him. Chu Mu pointed in the direction of Phil Coulson to these helpless citizens. Immediately. This rushed into the center of chaos. He is not a holy mother, but he is generally not stingy with helping with a little effort. Steamer. I found you. Chu Mu saw the culprit in the center of the chaos. It is a modified man who is admiring people's fear and laughing wildly. There is also a centipede-shaped device on this modified man's wrist. It turned out to be Centipede Warrior. Chu Mu recognized the identity of the cyborg, a cyborg created by an old rival of S.H.I.E.L.D. It is said that the Centipede Serum is a copy of Extremis. I don't know why it has been fiddled with at this stage. Could it be that Killian who came up with Extremis is already working with evil forces? It may also be that she had a one-night stand with Tony Stark, and the female scientist who cultivated the original Extremis sample took refuge in Hydra. No matter how. Chu Mu felt that it should be inseparable from his Goldfinger's repeated history revisions. Human. Are you here to meet the new god? The burly reformed man looked at Chu Mu arrogantly, and now his mentality has obviously swelled to the extreme. New god? Chu Mu seemed to have heard some joke. Huh. How dare you look down on me? Seeing the sarcasm on Chu Mu's face, the reformer roared angrily at Chu Mu. There was a magma-like substance flowing all over his body, and now he seemed to be a little hotter. This is a manifestation of serum instability. Now. No one can look down on me anymore. The transformed figure looked like a giant baby with a glassy heart. He turned around and lifted up an extremely huge truck, and threw his eyes angrily at where Chu Mu was standing. If you are a god, then what am I? Chu Mu can't dodge or dodge. Psychokinesis kicks in. The mighty truck was directly suspended in midair. What did you do? Damn it. What the hell did you do? The reformed man looked at this scene beyond his understanding in disbelief. I'm telling you what power is. Chu Mu's voice fell. The concrete floor under his feet cracked suddenly, and the terrifying speed erupted in an instant, and he appeared directly in front of the reformed person. He punched. It directly hit the face of the reformed man, with huge amounts of power. The mandible of the reformed man was instantly shattered and his face was distorted. Seeing that the reformed man was about to fly backwards, Chu Mu didn't give this guy any chance at all, just grabbed his ankle and pulled him back. Respite. Impossible to give. A dull movement occurs constantly. Smash my car. Smash my car. As if swinging a sledgehammer, Chu Mu grabbed the cyborg's legs and slammed the cyborg to the ground constantly. The reformed man's head collided with the concrete floor over and over again, dust filled the bricks and stones, and the reformed man's head continued to shatter. Only. The centipede serum this guy injected is very different from the original centipede serum, as if it has incorporated the self-healing feature of Extremis. Rapid regeneration. Enough. The reformed man howled furiously. Chu Mu stopped for a moment. Just when the reformers wanted to fight back from the Jedi. I don't want you to think. I want me to think. I don't think it's enough. Chu Mu started to smash around the remodelers again. He felt that smashing on the road wasn't fun enough, so he dragged the reformer into the wreckage of the car, and the reformer's whole body became scarred all of a sudden. The centipede serum is working. The reformer desperately wanted to struggle and fight back, but his small-brained thoughts had long been clearly seen in front of Chu Mu. Any movement of struggling to fight back will be suppressed by Chu Mu. To deal with such a bum, Chu Mu doesn't even need to ignite his divinity. His actions were extremely violent, and the surrounding environment was damaged again. The streets were in a mess, several of the fire hydrants had already been broken, and now they were spraying water, and the ground was covered with muddy filth. We are the same people. We should join forces. Why do you help those ordinary people? We are the gods who should control the world. The reformer is already like a muddy drenched chicken. He roared and questioned Chu Mu. Although he has a very strong self-healing ability, this self-healing ability is not without limits, and excessive use will make him extremely uncomfortable. You want to become a god with an inferior virus. It's time for me to crush your dream. Chu Mu smashed the cyborg to the ground disdainfully. He directly stepped on the reformed man's head with one foot. Don't force me. The reformer roared. Faces were trampled into the mud. Chu Mu was spying on this guy's thinking, but he knew very well that this guy was very afraid of death, so he was not worried about his overreaction. The virus in your body is quite stable. Chu Mu felt a little puzzled when he saw that the modified man hadn't lost control. The centipede serum in his memory should be very unstable. Now how can the characteristics of extremis be integrated, and still make the reformer maintain a state of not getting out of control for a long time? Extremis is not a stable strengthening agent either. Let me see what secrets you have. Chu Mu directly grabbed the cyborg by the neck and lifted the cyborg into midair. Psychokinesis directly restrained the hands and feet of the cyborg who wanted to struggle. What did you do to me? Let me go. I will tell you everything. The reformed man's eyes were full of horror, and he felt that things were completely beyond his expectations. He found that no matter how hard he tried, he couldn't move an inch, as if an invisible force bound him. Facing an opponent like Chu Mu, he was afraid. Sorry, I prefer the truth I see. Chu Mu directly invaded the mind of the reformed man, and got the answer in the painful moan of the reformed man. Just as he expected, history has deviated, and the scientists and businessmen on the side of extremists have become forces controlled by Hydra. This stable centipede serum is the product of historical deviations. In fact, this serum is not perfect, because the emotions of the injectors can easily fall into extremes. Just like the reformed man in front of him, he was a very arrogant soldier before the transformation, and his arrogance was magnified many times after the transformation. Side effects of Super Soldier Serum. Chu Mu definitely knows the source of this side effect. It must be Hydra added to the formula of Super Soldier Serum. Not only has this defect, but also the stability of the serum requires regular injections of stabilizers, otherwise it will still become an out-of-control person. Hydra asked you to seize the secrets of S.H.I.E.L.D., but you are here to entertain yourself. Chu Mu lifted the reformer into the air. What did you do to me? The expression of the reformer became unbelievable. Thinking of what Chu Mu said just now, he also realized that Chu Mu had spied on his memory. In this world, how come there are still people who can read minds? The reinvented man finally discovered that the horror of this world was far beyond his imagination. It is too late now. Oh, that's not important. Let's talk about compensation. Oh, you have no money. Chu Mu pouted, as if very unhappy. He snooped into the memory of the reinvented man. Naturally, he knew that this reformed person didn't even have a mobile phone of his own. You don't want to be their enemy. Even if you have such power, you are definitely no match for Hydra. The reformer looked at Chu Mu with increasingly dangerous eyes. He yelled as hard as he could, as if trying to scare Chu Mu. Hiss, I'm really scared. Chu Mu showed a kind smile to the reformed man who seemed to have not reacted, and immediately raised his fist and slammed at the reformed man. You don't have any money, so you have to pay me with your life. Boom. The berserk fist seemed to tear the air, and with a cracking sound, it landed on the reformed man's chest with the power beyond human limits in Chu Mu's body. Puff. The reformed man's chest sank in an instant, and his back exploded directly. Countless pieces of blood mixed with internal organs spewed out from the burst wound, splashing dozens of meters away, completely destroying the collapsed billboard behind the reformed man. Dyed red. Be quick. There was no chance for the reformers to resist at all. Kill in seconds. You. The cyborg's body was thrown to the ground by Chu Mu. His last sight. All he could see was Chu Mu's calm and deep gaze. Just for a car. What kind of monster did he provoke? Joke. Am I afraid of Hydra? Chu Mu wiped off the internal organs that splashed on his face. Those internal organs also felt hot, but they couldn't do him any harm. Not far away. An extremely bloody scene. At the moment, it happened to fall into the eyes of Phil Coulson, who organized the crowd to evacuate in the distance and occasionally look back. The top agent shuddered immediately. Really? The chief is right. This guy Chu Mu is Homelander himself. Look at this solution to the problem. It's brutal. Phil Coulson finally realized at this moment. No wonder several female agents in the bureau, as well as Nick Fury, are very concerned about black robe pickets. It turns out that their guess is not wrong. This TV series is not a magic movie at all, it's a documentary. The area where Chu Mu is located, ordinary people have all fled away long ago. Under the organization of S.H.I.E.L.D. agent, citizens ran in a safe direction. Hey, man. What's going on over there? A masked weirdo blocking the cobweb appeared. It was the hero of the city, Spider-Man. Many people who fled in a panic seemed to see a savior. Spider-Man, it's Spider-Man, there's a horrible freak over there. My God. That weirdo can breathe fire. Spider-Man, go and help. The townspeople yell at Spider-Man. Today Spider-Man has accumulated a lot of prestige in New York. Okay. Everyone take care of yourselves. Spider-Man saw the direction of the chaos, and the device on his wrist continuously fired the cobweb, moving quickly between tall buildings. Look. It's a bunch of nasty agents. Spider-Man saw Phil Coulson and a group of agents who were evacuating the crowd. He made a mouthful and then continued to swing towards the ruins of the road. Bad young man. Phil Coulson sighed. A S.H.I.E.L.D. agent of his level definitely knew Spider-Man's identity, and didn't care too much about a high school student. No contact with Homelander. Clear. Phil Coulson had a conversation with Nick Fury through the headset. He gave his men a look. The agents were well trained and boarded the Chevrolet off-road vehicle. Phil Coulson took a last look at the direction Chu Mu was in and sat on it, and several black off-road vehicles turned around and left the area. As for the finishing work on the site, as well as the reconstruction and maintenance of subsequent roads and buildings, these are not issues that S.H.I.E.L.D. needs to consider. What did I see? A dirty man. Is he the culprit that caused this disaster? Spider-Man is a person with a strong ability to talk. Like Deadpool, he likes to talk to himself very much. After seeing Chu Mu, he launched Cobweb without saying a word. Hey, stranger, destroying cities is not a good job. Spider-Man thought that the cobweb he launched would hit the target directly. However, the cobweb was directly suspended in midair. As if being held by some kind of force, this sudden change made Spider-Man stunned. Super ability? Spider-Man's tone was very surprised. Little Spider-Man. Chu Mu tilted his head slightly, looking at Spider-Man hanging upside down on a building. He laughed. If you don't go home sooner, your aunt will be angry with you. It was just a sentence, and Spider-Man's terrified hairs stood on end. What happened? Has your identity been exposed? Sorry, I don't understand what you're talking about. I mean, please don't change the subject, we're talking about your crime. Spider-Man could see that he was obviously flustered. Crime. I think I'm stopping the crime. See, this is the one who committed the crime. Chu Mu kicked the corpse on the ground. You killed him. Only then did Spider-Man see the corpse on the ground, and there was nothing he could do about it, mainly because the corpse was too muddy, as if it had merged with the stains on the ground. I should be called stopping crimes in a timely manner, just like the police shot and killed dangerous suspects. Didn't you see that group of agents acquiesced in my actions? Chu Mu walked to the broken fire hydrant and washed his face. Blood. Ah. Is that so? Spider-Man felt that Chu Mu's words were indeed reasonable. But it always feels weird. Definitely, crimes like Superman should be dealt with by professionals, right? Chu Mu wiped the water stains on his face while talking. He didn't wait for Spider-Man to ask anything else. Peter Parker, if you don't go back to do your homework, I'm going to call your aunt. Chu Mu took out a pack of toilet paper from his suit and wiped his face. He looked playful, and after he spoke slowly, Spider-Man's mentality immediately exploded. Sure enough, the guy in front of him knew his true identity. You. Spider-Man froze immediately after seeing Chu Mu's clean face. He knows this man. My aunt's new boss. He had always suspected that his aunt had fallen in love with the boss of the company, otherwise how could he get such a high-paying and leisurely job? So, he also secretly investigated Chu Mu's company. Naturally, I also know what Chu Mu looks like. Okay, sir, I'll be right back. Facing Chu Mu, who might become his uncle before him, even though Spider-Man still had many doubts in his heart, he still didn't dare to stay any longer. Peter Parker was really afraid that Chu Mu would make a call, so he just went back the same way with Cobweb. Good neighbors are here. The good neighbor is gone again. Never done shit. Chu Mu looked at the back of Spider-Man leaving and just couldn't laugh or cry. This Peter Parker actually thinks that he is having an affair with Aunt May? Chu Mu. who has been reading his thoughts, is very clear about Peter Parker's thoughts. Are you kidding me? Do you think I'm Sal Thief? Young people nowadays, their thinking is really perverted. Cleanly killed the reformer. Send off Spider-Man again. Chu Mu wanted to find a place to change his clothes. A nice high-end suit. It's scrapped now. Just now he noticed that the other party's thinking was a little dangerous, so he made a decisive decision. He knew very well that the centipede warrior had the ability to self-destruct. Chu Mu wasn't worried that he would be injured by the bomb, but he didn't want to give the reformer a chance to use firework, but he didn't expect to suffer a large loss directly because of it. It is definitely inappropriate to go to the new company with bloody clothes, so Chu Mu walked into a shopping mall casually, and changed into a set of men's clothes in this shopping mall. I've given you the money. Chu Mu threw away the blood-stained suit, walked to the empty cashier, and threw 200 yuan bills into the cabinet. He was just about to leave. I saw two thin figures, hiding in the corner of the mall, sneaking around, as if they were secretly holding food on the container. Buy for 0 yuan? Chu Mu walked over curiously. Immediately. I saw a pair of dirty brothers and sisters. How dare someone go to the store to steal things at such a time? Chu Mu felt that the two children were very courageous. The movement made by the previous reformers was not small. Normal people have already gone so far, but I didn't expect that some people would choose to take risks. This is seeking wealth and insurance. Chu Mu admired the courage of the two children. He walked over. It was found that the two children were about 15 or 16 years old. The boy was malnourished and skinny, and he knew at first sight that his life was poor, and he would be starving if he took advantage of the chaos to steal food. His white hair looks very conspicuous, and the hair color belongs to the natural color that has not been dyed. Do not come. The boy saw Chu Mu approaching. Immediately, he guarded his sister behind him vigilantly. The girl grabbed the boy's back and looked at Chu Mu timidly, with a little fear in her eyes. Although she looks a little malnourished, she has a very delicate and beautiful face, and although her body is thin, the parts that should be developed are also very well developed. What is your name? Chu Mu casually grabbed a bag of potato chips from the shelf. It's none of your business. Although the boy was also very afraid of Chu Mu, he still took good care of his younger sister, and he looked at Chu Mu with unkind eyes. Really? Chu Mu held the potato chips and seemed to think for a while, then tore open the bag of potato chips, and threw them into his mouth one by one. However, when I saw someone stealing other people's things, I came up to stop it, and I was only doing my duty as a law-abiding citizen. The potato chips in Chu Mu's mouth crackled. He leaned against a shelf. His expression looked very relaxed. Aren't you the same? The boy sneered disdainfully. His eyes fell on the potato chips in Chu Mu's hand. It's not like I don't pay. Chu Mu took out a 100 yuan bill and threw it in the direction of the far cash register. Under the inconceivable gazes of the two siblings, the 100 yuan bill was floating in the air and just fell into the drawer of the counter. This unscientific, the boy subconsciously exclaimed. He looked shocked. The girl behind her had twinkling eyes. Little tramp also understands science. Chu Mu raised his eyebrows, and his tone was a bit teasing, which made the boy with strong self-esteem immediately glared at him. I definitely understand. After emphasizing it bravely, the boy immediately went on to defend himself. We are not homeless. The tone is a little guilty. Seeing this, Chu Mu just burst out laughing. Then do you have money? Do you have a place to live? Do you have medical insurance? Do you have a stable job? Chu Mu issued 4 soul tortures one after another. It made the boy's face flush, but he was speechless. We didn't. The girl behind him gave Chu Mu an answer timidly. The girl looked at Chu Mu in a strange way, with curiosity and fear. So, you are homeless. Chu Mu said mercilessly, her tone still relaxed and leisurely. If humiliating us is to satisfy your dark pleasure, I admit that you have achieved your goal. May I ask you to leave now? The boy looked extremely ashamed. If they hadn't seen before how Chu Mu showed off his might outside, he would rush forward and punch Chu Mu no matter what he said. First of all, this is not your territory, and second, I don't want to humiliate you. Chu Mu looked at the boy with strong self-esteem. He looked at the girl with very bright eyes behind the boy. I just want to tell you that I can give you everything described above. Hear Chu Mu's words. The boy became a little confused. There was also a bit of doubt in the girl's eyes. What do you want to do? The boy's expression became more vigilant, and he even guarded the girl behind him more tightly, apparently taking Chu Mu as someone who plotted against him. Couldn't it be that I'm so kind that I don't want to see you living on the streets? Chu Mu raised his eyebrows and threw another potato chip into his mouth. There are so many homeless people on the street. Why don't you help them? The boy's tone was sarcasm, and he looked at Chu Mu more and more unkindly. Oh, so you are admitting that you are homeless, right? Chu Mu seemed to have caught a chick's foot, and his expression looked extremely happy. The boy was speechless. We don't need your help. He looked at the man in front of him fiercely, as if trying to frighten Chu Mu with his eyes. As he said that, the boy pulled his sister and was about to leave, but Chu Mu didn't go to stop the two of them. Are you sure? Maybe you won't have a better opportunity in the future. Chu Mu looked at the two siblings walking towards the gate and said unhurriedly. Before refusing, listen to my self-introduction, it's not a bad thing for you. After Chu Mu finished speaking unhurriedly, I saw the girl holding the boy. All of this was actually within Chu Mu's expectations. Mental ability. Can hold absolute sovereignty in most situations. What do you want us to do? The girl's voice was quite soft and sweet. She turned to look at Chu Mu, raised her head boldly, and met Chu Mu's eyes. His eyes are so beautiful. The girl subconsciously thought of this in her heart. Seeing the girl seemed to be bewitched by Chu Mu. Don't trust these people from the United States. The boy was anxious to pull the girl's arm, using the language of another country. His vigilance towards Chu Mu has never diminished. Looking at Chu Mu's handsome face, the boy only felt that his sister was confused by Chu Mu's appearance. The boy wanted to take the girl out of this place as soon as possible, but after the girl made a decision, she was not swayed by her big brother. What do you want? From us? The girl steadied the boy. Emphasized again to Chu Mu. Although the girl looks very young, she still has her own thoughts. This personality is similar to that of her grown-up. Chu Mu judged in his heart. What do you think I want you to do? Chu Mu threw the question back. Oh, you bloody people from the United States. Definitely want to do some nasty things. The boy pulled the girl and said angrily to Chu Mu. He felt that the other party was coveting his sister's appearance. When he was wandering in other countries, he had encountered similar situations many times. Are you the same as us? The girl didn't answer Chu Mu's question, but suddenly asked a question. Chu Mu definitely understood what she meant. If you're talking about this kind of difference. Chu Mu raised his hand, and the potato chip bag was suspended above his palm. I think it should be about the same. Chu Mu smiled happily, because he saw a red light emerging from the girl's hand, which also guided a bag of potato chips to levitate. Sister. You. The boy's expression is very complicated. He didn't know why his sister was exposed in front of the man in front of him. Even if the other party is of the same kind. But who knows if the other party is good or bad? It's not that they haven't encountered compatriots who plot evil in the past. Big brother, I trust my intuition, he shouldn't be a bad person. The girl whispered to her big brother. Also use other languages. I think your sister is right. Chu Mu spoke abruptly. Scared girls and boys alike. They didn't expect it. Chu Mu can understand their native dialect. You saw it just now. The big guy outside was bullying innocent people, and I stood up to uphold justice. I am one of the few super nice people in New York City. Chu Mu didn't blush and was out of breath, but introduced herself very seriously. His shameless manner. The girl couldn't help but wonder if she was wrong. Calling the killing of a bad guy called upholding justice is not at all the same as the superhero in her impression. You people of the United States have no good people. The boy's prejudice against the great free state is very serious, and it may be said that he is the most sober group of people. But I'm from Washaw. Chu Mu answered without haste. The boy was speechless again for a while. You don't want your sister to live a life of wandering on the streets with you forever, without squatting after eating the last meal, right? A girl of her age should study hard in school and enjoy a good childhood with her peers. Chu Mu's words can be regarded as talking about the boy's weakness. You can let her study in the school? A good school for people from the United States? The boy's attitude softened a little, but he still looked at Chu Mu suspiciously. We don't have your identity certificates from the United States. After hesitating for a while, he still gave Chu Mu a little insight. It's not a big deal. There's a BL*CKM*N who just owed me a favor, and I think he'd be happy to get you IDs. The kind of formal identity issued by the official agency. The definitely that Chu Mu said is SHIELD braised egghead, and it is only a small problem for SHIELD to get the identity information. You have friends who are senior officials of the United States? The boy looked at Chu Mu with astonishment in his eyes. Didn't I introduce myself? I am a billionaire. As long as you have money in this country, there will be many high-ranking officials willing to make friends with you. Chu Mu introduced calmly. The boy was shocked again by indescribable. Unexpectedly, some compatriots became billionaires. This completely overturned his perception of mutants' living conditions. Do you want to study? Little girl. Chu Mu looked at the girl who was full of fear and apprehension, but still dared to look at her. I just want to live a normal life with my big brother. The girl was actually very moved in her heart, but she still replied in a low voice on the surface. No one wants to sleep on the street, and everyone wants to have a normal childhood, instead of worrying about becoming a cold corpse at any time. Definitely will have a normal life. Chu Mu looked at the thin boy. My studio lacks a security guard, and I think your big brother's skills are very suitable for this job. Among words, it seems like they know the two of them very well. Such an attitude makes the boy a little uncomfortable. How much do you know about me? We only met today. The boy looked at the man in front of him with an expression of resentment. Maybe it's a little bit more than you think. A little bit more? Chu Mu threw away the empty plastic bag in his hand, and looked at the white-haired boy with a half-smile. Peter, want to compare speed with me? In a word. The 16-year-old boy's hairs stood on end in shock, and his expression was horrified. His reaction was exactly the same as that of the previous Spider-Man. Chu Mu, a fun person, enjoys such moments the most. You. The boy looked at Chu Mu blankly. The other party not only said his name, but also his ability. Run fast. It is his super ability. The boy looked at Chu Mu in surprise. Didn't figure out how Chu Mu knew his secret. As for you. Chu Mu didn't mean to explain. He looked at the girl who should be only 14 or 15 years old, tapped his head as if he was thinking about it before making a decision. I will find you a great school and let you learn. Repay me after you have achieved something. Finished. They didn't wait for the two brothers and sisters to react. Chu Mu patted the potato chip crumbs on his hands, walked in front of the two people, one left and one right, pressed their shoulders and suggested with a smile. Okay. In order to celebrate the official joining of my two new employees, I invite you to eat something delicious. Snacks and the like can't fill your stomach. Did I tell you that there is a Chinese restaurant on the next street that tastes really good? Their shredded chicken is simply delicious. His words. The two brothers and sisters swallowed subconsciously. No one at the age of the two siblings can resist the charm of delicious food. By the way, go change into better clothes, don't worry, I'll pay for it. Chu Mu took out several more franklins and threw them into the cashier counter. He is not an absolutely righteous person, but he is definitely a lawful person. What? The two children didn't react a little, but they still did what Chu Mu said, and went to find a set of clean and warm clothes to change into. The older big brother changed into a leather jacket, and also got sunglasses to wear on his forehead, which has a street-style punk feel. The girl changed into a beautiful little skirt. The red skirt matches her delicate face, and she has a very good charm at a young age. When she showed off her new clothes, her expression became a little timid again, and she clenched her small fists secretly. You can see that you are very nervous and shy. It suits you very well. Chu Mu praised sincerely. Are you so sure that we will agree to you? The girl could see that she still felt a little uneasy, and there was a hint of confusion in her eyes. Ah. Chu Mu's smile was very bright. He touched the girl's little head, and while leading the two out of the store, he replied cheerfully. Wanda, if you think I'm handsome, you can praise it directly. Instead of just sighing in your heart, you have to let everyone know that you have good eyesight. Chu Mu called out the girl's name in one go. What's on your mind is spoken. The girl couldn't help but blush instantly. After lowering her head in embarrassment, her eyes as clear as jewels flickered slightly, and she also understood another meaning in Chu Mu's words. This handsome big brother in front of him. Has the terrifying ability to read minds. Little Wanda only felt an indescribable shock in her heart. Yes. The two people who were lured into the company by Chu Mu were the well-known Scarlet Witch Wanda in the Marvel Universe, and her big brother Quicksilver Pete. Chu Mu, who has been reading the superficial thinking of the two people, found that the version of the two people is not the version that has animosity against Tony Stark. There are mutants in this Marvel universe, and the two siblings also belong to mutants, so their backgrounds are naturally not ordinary. Quicksilver is very handsome, and Wanda is also unbelievably beautiful at a young age. I think it should be the version of Magneto's descendants. You haven't told us yet. Why help us? Quicksilver was a little older, so he was more vigilant. Especially after seeing Wanda blushing, his vigilance has climbed to the extreme, which is probably the reaction that all big brothers will have. Can't I be a good, helpful person? Chu Mu raised his eyebrows. He led the two of them out to the edge of the deserted street, and with a light wave of his hand, psychokinesis directly lifted the partition board erected by the SHIELD agents. If all these years of life have taught us anything, it's that there is absolutely no free lunch in this world. Quicksilver spoke very solemnly. Wanda at the moment also turned her head and looked at Chu Mu with a serious expression. Not knowing Chu Mu's real purpose, she actually felt a little uneasy. One cannot be nice to them for no reason. Well, you two smart ghosts, you were right, there is no such thing as a free lunch. Chu Mu laughed and tousled their hair. He led the two of them along the street, but found no sign of the police, and smoothly merged into the unblocked street on the other side. Movements in the next street. It did not affect the prosperity of this street. What I want is your loyalty. Chu Mu opened the door of the restaurant for the two children, waiting for the two to make a choice. Loyalty. Both children were stunned. Obviously they didn't expect Chu Mu to give such an answer. Yes, I will give you the life you want and give you a decent status, but I want you to stand firmly by my side no matter what happens in the future. Chu Mu's eyes were deep looked at the two children. He doesn't know what choice he will make in the future, and he doesn't know whether he will be an enemy of Chawang in the future, so he needs his own team. This is Chu Mu's truest thought. Definitely, there is a more grandiose idea, but I don't know if it can be realized for the time being. Odin can be a god king. Zeus can be the king of gods. He is also God. There should be such an opportunity. In fact, Chu Mu has long had a deep feeling that the power bred by his divine fire has a lot to do with this aspect. A very reasonable request. Wanda recovered faster than Quicksilver. Her eyes are serious. This is the loyalty we should pay. Looking at the man in front of him who didn't hide anything, in this strange and cold country, the only man who was willing to provide shelter for her and Quicksilver, the young Wanda nodded heavily. Young age. Wanda is indeed more mature than most adults' minds. Okay. Whoever you want us to hit. We'll hit whoever you want. Quicksilver was also a straightforward boy, and felt that Chu Mu's request was not unacceptable. Just being the opponent's thug can make his sister live a good life, and he is even willing to make a deal with the devil. Then I wish us good luck in the future. Chu Mu saw the two children walk into the restaurant, his smile became brighter, and he followed closely into the restaurant. The waiter gave a warm reception and took the three of them to find a box. Wanda and Quicksilver have been homeless since childhood and have never eaten at any restaurant, let alone such an upscale Chinese restaurant. The reaction of the two brothers and sisters was the same as that of Grandma Lu entering the Grand View Garden. Waiting for the waiter in the restaurant to serve the dishes, facing the traditional Chinese food. The two brothers and sisters didn't have any discomfort with eating, and they just started eating. After a few bites, Chu Mu took out his Nokia. He is going to let Sky also meet at this Chinese restaurant. The phone is connected. However, the person who answered the phone was not Sky. Natasha Romanoff. Chu Mu recognized the recognizable voice on the other end of the phone. He was a little puzzled. How could the agent of SHIELD hold Sky's phone? Could it be that SHIELD captured Sky and wanted to use Sky to threaten herself? Braised Egghead should not make such an unwise decision. Chu Mu didn't know what happened. Hello. Director, I'm Natasha Romanoff, and we were on that road just now, going to audition for a new TV show. I happened to meet Sky on the road. She seems to have some symptoms of hypoglycemia. We are here to accompany her for infusion. Natasha Romanoff is still cosplaying, and the two sides have not yet broken the window paper, and her identity is still a Hollywood actress. Hypoglycemia? Chu Mu was a little stunned. Think about it. It seems that Sky did not eat anything in the morning, and then he was frightened by a traffic accident, and it is not incomprehensible to have symptoms of hypoglycemia. Yes. Natasha Romanoff wasn't lying. Looking at the test report in her hand, she couldn't believe that the girl next to her fell into a coma due to hypoglycemia. That dangerous object really didn't cause any harm to this girl. Natasha Romanoff glanced at Sky, who was beside him, suspiciously. Sky was already waking up slowly at this time. She actually woke up shortly after coming to the hospital, but fell asleep again during the infusion. Is it my black-hearted boss? Sky's voice came from the other end of the phone, as if feeling a little tired, but also as if he had just woken up. Tell him for me, I'm going to ask for a day off today. Sky's tone didn't seem to be coerced, and he could hear that he was in a relaxed state. Definitely can. Chu Mu directly agreed to Sky's request for leave. Having encountered such a serious accident today, Sky really should relax. Don't worry, we'll take care of her. Natasha Romanoff made a promise to Chu Mu. Better so. Chu Mu also replied with a cryptic smile. He believed that the agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. would not fail to comprehend even his meaning. Your boss seems to care about you. After Natasha Romanoff hung up the phone, she smiled at Sky with a natural expression, and she returned the phone to Sky, who woke up. He thinks I'm cheap and easy to use. Sky could see that she was also very happy, but she obviously also had a rather arrogant personality. I'll ask your attending doctor to see if there are any hanging bottles for you later. Natasha Romanoff patted the quilt on Sky's hospital bed. Thank you. Sister Natasha Romanoff. You are so kind. Sky sent a card to Natasha Romanoff, and Natasha Romanoff responded with a gentle smile. But after walking out of Sky's ward, the smile on her face disappeared instantly, replaced by a dignified expression. She doesn't seem to remember what happened on the street before. Outside the house, Hill Agent has been standing at the door listening to the conversation inside. Could it be a protective short-term amnesia of the brain? After all, judging from the past records of this girl, she has never encountered similar dangers. Natasha Romanoff had already memorized Sky's information by heart, and acted rationally. There was some guesswork. She didn't set foot in the dangerous area where the reformers are. It was just a flying tire that smashed the front cover of the Porsche she was riding in. Hill Agent did not agree with Natasha Romanoff's statement. I am more inclined that this kind of amnesia has something to do with the unknown dangerous goods she held in her hand before. Her eyes met Natasha Romanoff. Sorry, some information I can't disclose to you. Natasha Romanoff shrugged and responded in a tight-lipped whisper. I definitely know that you won't reveal it, so I asked our director. Don't forget, I am also a level 9 agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. Hill Agent smiled softly, lowered his voice and said, her background is not simple, maybe it has something to do with that group. So-called groups. Naturally, it refers to the Inhumans. Both Natasha Romanoff and Hill Agents understand this. Even so, what can we do? Take her into the laboratory for research. Natasha Romanoff recalled Chu Mu's warning just now. She felt that Chu Mu must have known about Sky's background for a long time. Don't forget that standing behind her is the Homelander who the director himself said is invulnerable. Natasha Romanoff's voice was very serious, and Agent Hill's expression became serious. They all knew how high the danger rating of Chu Mu was in the bureau. I just mentioned it, and I don't really want to do anything. Hill Agent looked at Sky, who was playing with his mobile phone in the ward through the glass window of the ward. I couldn't help but feel emotional. Sure enough, being with the leader is very important. If there is no relationship with Chu Mu, Natasha Romanoff is probably the first person to arrest Sky. The old agent who lived until now during World War E is not a creature that can talk about emotions. Is it your girlfriend? Wanda was sitting next to Chu Mu eating something. When she heard a woman's voice on the phone, she couldn't help asking curiously. It's an old woman. Chu Mu grabbed the chopsticks and continued cooking. I don't believe it. The voice sounds very young. Wanda felt that Chu Mu was lying, and for some reason became a little sullen. Getting along with a meal. The relationship between the siblings and Chu Mu has become much closer, and Wanda has also begun to show the cute side that a little girl should have. Ha 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 ha, you will know later. Chu Mu patted Wanda's head, but didn't explain too much. He was used to being a scumbag, and definitely understood the little girl's current psychology of dependence. Wanda's age. He couldn't think of anything else for the time being. A table of meals. It was quickly wiped out by 3 people, and the waiter and store owner were not surprised by this. Chu Mu's company is a regular customer of this Chinese restaurant. I didn't see Jiali today, and the boss was still very sorry, and Chu Mu lost a lot of money. After eating and drinking, Chu Mu called Aunt May and asked this woman with rich parenting experience to come and bring the 2 brothers and sisters Wanda and Quicksilver back to the company to settle down. Huge 1-story office building. It was originally a place for hundreds of people to work, but now there are only a few employees, and it is easy to free up a few rooms as bedrooms. As for Chu Mu, he didn't forget that today he was going to sign a commission contract on Super Soldier Serum. After asking the 2 brothers and sisters not to reveal their identities, Chu Mu watched the 3 of them leave. In the end, he still had to take a taxi to the company. Maybe this is fate. In the taxi, Chu Mu felt that there were too many surprises today. He doesn't know. In the new company, there is another shock waiting for him. The taxi stopped at the gate of the company. Chu Mu looked up and saw the red and white sign that looked like an open umbrella, and his eyelids twitched slightly. It's really a bad joke. Chu Mu thinks this is the bad taste of Almighty I. He walked directly into the company gate. No one will stop him. The identity brought by Almighty I will not have the slightest omission. As soon as Chu Mu walked into the skyscraper that belonged exclusively to Umbrella Biotechnology, he was warmly greeted by the security guards and the staff. Boss. Good morning, boss. Everyone seemed to have known Chu Mu for a long time. When they saw Chu Mu, they bowed and greeted Chu Mu again, which made Chu Mu feel a little awkward. Even though it was just the first time they met, everyone seemed to be familiar with him. Chu Mu once again marveled at the horror of the Almighty Eye. A well-armed technology company. Chu Mu saw that the security personnel were all well-armed, and the equipment seemed even higher than that of many special forces. He recalled the information given by Almighty Eye, that all the company's security personnel are from the top special forces of various countries. Chu Mu's eyelids twitched again, especially the head of security who trotted over to greet him jumped even more after swaying in front of him. Albert Wesker. What is it all about? Chu Mu only felt that the buffs of the new company were stacking up more and more. He took a deep look at this and the security director with the same name and surname as the villain in Resident Evil, and he was a little glad that this was not a ruthless man with a big back. You continue to do your job well, and don't let the company trust you. Chu Mu patted Albert Wesker on the shoulder twice. Under the flattering gaze of this strong man, he walked straight into the elevator of the building and came directly to the chairman's office on the top floor. I don't know if S.H.I.E.L.D. has timed it well. Chu Mu just arrived for a while, and the commissioner of S.H.I.E.L.D. came to Umbrella Technology according to the time. Hello. The person who came was a good-looking girl. Chu Mu recognized another capable subordinate of Nick Fury, Barbara Morse, also known as Mockingjay Bird to many people. She was once sent undercover by Nick Fury to Hydra. I also don't know if Mockingjay Bird at the moment is commissioned on behalf of Hydra, or if this is just the meaning of Nick Fury. Let's not gossip, let's sign the contract. Chu Mu recruited the company's legal counsel, as well as scientists and directors of related research. Mockingjay Bird is also a capable character, without too much ink. Most matters have been negotiated long ago, and now it is just a process. After the two parties confirmed the cooperative relationship, she signed a contract with Chu Mu's Umbrella Biotechnology on behalf of the Homeland Strategic Defense Attack and Logistics Support Agency. There is no compensation for breach of contract, but it only limits the sharing of scientific and technological achievements. Probably Brain Danto also knows how difficult it is to reproduce the super soldier serum. Definitely. It may also be that it is clear that Chu Mu will definitely not lose money. The agent brought by Mockingjay Bird handed over the relevant information to Chu Mu after signing the contract. After getting the relevant information about the super soldier serum, all the scientists were extremely excited. They had already known the name of this serum for a long time. The strengthening potion that created Captain America, there is no scientist who does not want to study it, and the scientists who obtained the information immediately went into the laboratory. Contract signed. Watched Mockingjay Bird and his party leave. Chu Mu also walked out of the chairman's office at 20. He said hello to the enchanting secretary here. He originally planned to go directly to the Xingchun building, but changed his mind after entering the elevator. Since everyone is here, it's time to see the company's talents. Chu Mu finally chose to press the button for the laboratory on the 16th floor. The laboratory on the 16th floor. The name of the person in charge is Helen Zhao. It is the scientist that Chu Mu cared about after accepting the identity before. This is a genius whose IQ is absolutely not inferior to Iron Man Tony Stark. An ordinary woman became friends with Tony Stark, maybe because of her proud figure, but she was recognized by Iron Man entirely by her own knowledge. Now, in Chu Mu, an Umbrella Biotechnology company, Hailun Zhao is researching that rather black tech project, Cradle of Life. It is the kind of nanotechnology that can quickly repair wounds after people lie down on it. This technology can not only treat many diseases, but even after Ultron is manufactured in the future, the technology of the Cradle of Life is also used by Ultron to cultivate a vibranium body. Go to the 16th floor. After going through the previous strict steps of changing protective clothing and disinfecting, Chu Mu entered the laboratory belonging to Zhao Hailun's Cradle of Life project. Director. Zhao Hailun was originally working on project calculations, but when she learned of Chu Mu's arrival, she immediately put down her work. High IQ people. Emotional intelligence is actually not too low. Some oddities are just exceptions. I just came to see the progress of the project, don't be nervous. Chu Mu looked at the scientist in protective clothing with a very good face and figure, and showed a kind and friendly smile. Well, although the current research speed is relatively slow for the time being, I have a hunch that we will be able to make breakthroughs soon. Helen Zhao showed a worried look, probably because she was afraid that Chu Mu would cut off the funding for the research. After all, she was very familiar with the profit-seeking thinking of businessmen. I believe in your talent, don't worry, come to me if you encounter any difficulties, and I will find a way to help you with your research. Chu Mu's reaction was beyond Zhao Hailun's expectations. He definitely knows that the cradle of life is a black technology, and it is definitely not an easy thing to make a breakthrough in technology. To some extent, the cradle of life actually contains much higher technological content than Tony Stark's iron armor. This is the domain of nanotechnology. Follow the normal timeline. It took several years for Hailun Zhao to achieve something. Once the project is successful, that was an epic-making invention. Waiting for a few days is actually not too long. Chu Mu may lack other things, but to have a divine body, the most important thing he lacks is time. Thank you, boss. I will definitely not disappoint your trust. Zhao Hailun's reaction was very quick, and the worry on her face disappeared in an instant. She never expected that her research, which cost a lot of money, could get such support from the upper echelon. All of a sudden, Zhao Helen was also a little moved. As the saying goes, a scholar dies for a confidant. Scientists like her don't care about the gains and losses of any benefits, they just want to fulfill their dreams and complete the research they have built by themselves. Probably did not expect the top leader of the company to be so eloquent. After hesitating for a while, Zhao Helen cautiously spoke to Chu Mu again. Chairman, can I temporarily withdraw from the research of another project? I can't really help you with the research there. Helen Zhao carefully observed Chu Mu's reaction. What research? Although Chu Mu received information about the company, he was not very clear about all the research on the company. He only received the amount of information that a chairman should have. It's the kind of mycelium found in Louisiana. It plays a very good role in catalyzing and integrating in the solar ladder project. What? What are you saying? Hyphae. Sun ladder. Chu Mu's eyelids didn't twitch this time, his heart almost stopped beating. Almighty I. What company did he give it to? Silver rank status only. Play so big? For watching the Resident Evil series. Or for those who have played the Resident Evil series of games, they are not unfamiliar with the terms sun ladder and mycelium. The former is the chief culprit that caused the outbreak of the Resident Evil story. The T virus, G virus, T abyss virus, Veronica virus, C virus, second generation Las Plagas parasite, and Ouroboros virus are all based on the story in the solar ladder. From the study of the progenitor virus. As for mycelium, that is also a great thing. The core of the 7th and 8th games in the Resident Evil series lies in this thing, which can turn people into extremely terrifying monsters that can be controlled by the mycelium matrix. The loving family in Resident Evil 7 is made of mycelium, and Chu Mu feels creepy just recalling that episode. It's really umbrella. Chu Mu's mentality collapsed. He originally thought that the identity, Almighty I, created for him was nothing more than an ordinary biotechnology company. Who would have thought that the ultimate big bomb was made in the Marvel world? Chu Mu doesn't know much about the Resident Evil series of games. He belongs to Yuntong, who has passed the game, but he still remembers the names of several key players. Who is the person in charge of this research? Chu Mu wants to stop this evil research as soon as possible. He doesn't want the Marvel universe he is in to become a zombie universe. Dr. James Marcus. Zhao Helen immediately gave an answer. Good guy. Stacking buff again. Isn't this the guy who created the original T-virus? The experimental research on your side is going on as usual, and I agree with you to withdraw from the research plan of the Sun Ladder. Chu Mu is always insightful into Zhao Helen's superficial thinking, so he knows that Zhao Helen can't ask too much about the sun here. Ladder thing. After he instructed Zhao Hailun to complete the life cradle technology, he immediately turned around, walked into the elevator and pressed the button for the 11th floor underground. The 11th floor underground is where the sun ladder is studied. Chu Mu also read some relevant information from Zhao Hailun's shallow memory, and the elevator quickly descended to the underground of the umbrella building. Director. The security chief of the underground laboratory immediately received Chu Mu. The protection level of this place is much higher than that of Zhao Hailun's laboratory. The places where biochemical viruses are studied will definitely be closely protected, and Chu Mu even feels that such protection work is not safe. Is Dr. Marcus there? Chu Mu is very concerned about whether the T-virus has been produced. Yes, he just got off the phone with someone from the military, and it seems he had an argument about something. The head of security reported the situation to Chu Mu. Military? Chu Mu was slightly taken aback. He casually took off an LCD tablet computer from the wall of the laboratory, and checked it with his highest authority in the company. This plan does have military investment in it. The purpose of studying the Sun Ladder is to transform the human body quality through the virus in it. The Sun Ladder was originally just a flower in the primeval forest, which contained a virus substance in the form of RNA. It can greatly improve the skills of the human body and greatly extend the lifespan of human beings. It is similar to Wakanda's heart-shaped grass. It is quite normal for the military to be interested in such research. In fact, the military has similar investments in many technology companies. Ever since Captain America performed miracles in World War I, the United States military has had a soft spot for body modification. The Sun Ladder is not a heart-shaped grass, and the heart-shaped grass will not make people into monsters. Chu Mu remembered that the up-master of the batch station he watched before crossing once said, "If you eat something like the Sun Ladder directly, there is a chance of gaining physical strengthening, but the greater probability is to die suddenly on the spot or become a biochemical monster." Once in ancient times in Africa, there is a strong tribe. Just like Black Panther's Wakanda, the chiefs are strengthened through the Sun Ladder, and the final result of this tribe is that one of the chiefs is directly strengthened into a monster. The entire tribe was instantly annihilated. "Chairman, why are you here?" Dr. Marcus is a middle-aged man with blonde hair and a beard on his face. When he heard that Chu Mu came to the laboratory, he immediately stopped his work. The research on the solar ladder is temporarily suspended, and all relevant experimental data should be sealed up immediately, and relevant experimental materials must be properly disposed of. Chu Mu has Umbrella's absolute right to speak, and immediately issued an order to Dr. Marcus. "Stop this research." "No. Chairman, we already have a research direction. The discovery of mycelium can effectively help us control that virus. Give me some time, 3 years, no, just 2 years, you will be able to see the results. Viruses in mycelia and solar ladders will create more culturable viruses." When Dr. Marcus heard that Chu Mu was going to suspend his research, his expression suddenly changed, and he began to beg Chu Mu for various guarantees. He doesn't know. Chu Mu was terrified when he heard his words. "Good guy. Integrate research of mycelium plus progenitor virus? Add poison to poison." Chu Mu only felt that the company's buffs were almost fully stacked. He seemed to have seen the biochemical monsters full of mold, which could not be killed or destroyed, crawling out of the Umbrella Technology Company one by one. Wrong. During a burst of thoughts, Chu Mu realized a very serious problem. The mycelium came from a small town in Louisiana. This is not meant to be. A small-scale biohazard has broken out in that place. This is not a small problem, Chu Mu asked Dr. Marcus immediately. The mycelium was obtained last June. Has the place where the mycelium was obtained been controlled? Chu Mu stared at Dr. Marcus tightly. This sudden inquiry. Dr. Marcus, who was still in tears just now, was stunned immediately. There was a serious plague in a small town there, and several waves of investigators were lost in the plague. The culprit of the plague is mycelium. Although Dr. Marcus didn't know why Chu Mu asked this question, he honestly told all the information he knew. The company has a medical cooperation relationship with the government, so I and a group of medical experts were dispatched past. Chu Mu knew about this. When Dr. Marcus narrated, he also searched for relevant records on the company's network. Dr. Marcus was an expert who went to Louisiana with official personnel. "You found special hyphae there, and then brought some of them back to the company?" Chu Mu continued to ask. "Related records. Only important information will be recorded. Specific process. Still have to let Dr. Marcus do the talking." "Yes, I discovered the magic of mycelium. It seems to be evolving with humans, but the functions of humans cannot adapt. It's very similar to the virus in the Sun Ladder. Before the military destroyed it, I hid some and brought it back to the company." Dr. Marcus wants Chu Mu to take back his previous decision, so now he knows everything state. The military destroyed the whole town. Chu Mu did not see relevant information in the company log. Because the infection there is simply uncontrollable and incurable. You know, the military likes to use nuclear explosions as a one-and-done method. Dr. Marcus sighed, as if regretting something. They do like the simplicity of the process. Chu Mu is actually very contemptuous of the United States military's practice of dropping nuclear bombs at the slightest disagreement, and the subsequent New York War also tried to use nuclear bombs to solve the problem. But after the town where a can of mycelium was located was completely wiped out, Chu Mu was still relieved. Under the nuclear explosion, all beings are equal. It is impossible for the virus like hyphae to survive the nuclear explosion. Now Chu Mu has never heard of any plagues, so the problem of mycelium in the plague town in that place has indeed been solved. Do you know why the hyphae are there? Chu Mu is worried that the mycelium in Louisiana is just spread from other places. After all, the plot of Resident Evil 8 took place in another place. It is said that a group of young people who have nothing to do have read a few books on tomb robbery from the east, so they dug a mausoleum in the town. The hyphae came from that tomb, and the entire tomb has already disappeared from this world with the nuclear explosion. Dr. Marcus's tone was full of grief. He always felt that there would be great discoveries in the mausoleum where the mycelium was born. Chu Mu breathed a sigh of relief, but just to be on the safe side, he checked with Dr. Marcus again and again. How do you know the military didn't keep it? The military knows everything about urine. If they kept it, they wouldn't choose to cooperate with us, and asked us to share some with them for research. Dr. Marcus sneered, despising the group of scientists in the military. Chu Mu felt that what Dr. Marcus said was reasonable, and he was completely at ease. Fortunately, only his company has kept the biochemical mycelium. Otherwise, Resident Evil really broke out in the Marvel universe. God knows if it can be controlled. In fact, what Chu Mu is most worried about is what big problems the military will cause with mycelium. All the biological research of the military in the Marvel universe has never been successful. Pacific Ocean. A small island stands alone in the wind and waves. Its area is not large. There is also only one institution that looks like a research institute. Boom. 10,000 meters above the sky. A special fighter plane with a strange shape and a sci-fi feel flew over at a high speed, and 3 people in strange costumes parachuted directly from above. After 3 people in strange clothes parachuted and landed. A boy with wings on his back also flew directly out of a special fighter plane, soared in the sky and landed on the coast of the island. Guys, you're too slow. The boy with wings showed a mocking smile at the 3 people who were still slowly falling in midair while using a parachute. His name is Warren Kenneth Worthington E., code-named Angel, and he is a mutant who joined the ranks of the X-Men. Possessing keen eyes, as well as extraordinary strength and reaction speed, the biggest feature of mutant is the pair of angel-like pure Bayou wings on the back. You think everyone has a pair of chicken wings? The eyes of the man who landed first were covered by special glasses. He is Cyclops, a very famous member of the X-Men. He was born with the ability to emit red shockwave in both eyes. It is so powerful that it can even easily destroy a building. You guys are jealous. Angel flapped the wings on his back. Look smug. At this time, the other 2 X-Men also landed on the island. One is John the Burning Man in the early days of X Academy. The other is Mutant who can't play with fire without a lighter, and the other is the main tank in the X-Men, who can use his whole body Colossus turned into steel. Everyone, don't take it lightly. There is something wrong with the situation on the island. As soon as Colossus landed, he stopped the others from playing around. What's there to worry about? Isn't it just a research institute? Pyro John was the youngest person, and he also had the most arrogant personality. He's one of the students who came for an X-Men internship. Because there was nothing to be able to participate in Black Robe Picket before, this internship can be regarded as Charles's compensation to him. Pyro John was just too loud in school. Don't relax your vigilance. There are indeed some problems in the situation. Why didn't the guards find us? Cyclops ignored Pyro, and he looked in the direction of the research institute very puzzled. There. Quiet is a bit unusual. The previous mission had never encountered a similar situation. When landing, Cyclops was ready to deal with the enemy, but there was no exchange of fire with the research institute on the ground. Perhaps this research institute has been scrapped long ago. We made this trip for nothing. Angel raised his eyebrows and raised his own guess. Tresk has spent a lot of money on this research institute, and it is impossible to give up easily. It is likely to be a slaughterhouse for mutant research. Colossus stated the purpose of this operation, to rescue mutant. Okay. What do we know about this research institute? Angel used his excellent eyesight to look at the research institute in the distance. He saw no trace of any guard activity. I only know that it was built last year. After Trask returned from Louisiana, he spent billions to secretly build this research institute. Cyclops shared the only information they had with the crowd. Wow. Billions. This amount of money is not a small sum for my father. How can a colonel in the military have such capital? Angel raised his eyebrows in surprise. In addition to being an X-Men, he is also a very rich second generation. Someone always invests in him, and this is his horror. Colossus replied in a deep voice, and he made a departure gesture to everyone. I remember there was an accident last year in Louisiana. Burning Bob had nothing to do in school, and he liked to watch conspiracy theories on the news. Well, he just went to the town that was erased. The professor suspected that he was in that place and captured a powerful mutant. Cyclops followed closely behind Colossus, a group of people. They soon approached the research institute on the island. However, their vigilance was completely meaningless, and the entire research institute was completely silent. There were no guards to stop them, and there was no automatic fire coverage. The whole institute was full of eerie tranquility. On the ground, not even a single live ant in sight. Weird environment. Can't help but make both Cyclops and Colossus feel a little bad. The four of them searched outside the research institute for a long time, let alone a living person, not even a single living being. What's going on here? Cyclops took a deep breath. He felt that the development of things was completely different from what he imagined. Could it have been killed by our compatriots? Pyro John put forward his own guess, and walked straight to the gate of the institute with a lighter. His character was originally rebellious and unruly, and his patience was even worse. He couldn't wait for others to find out the situation. According to Burning John, there is no need for these mutants to be afraid of any guards. Those are just ordinary humans, and they are evolved new humans. Don't act recklessly. Colossus wanted to stop Pyro John, but at the moment Pyro John had already opened the door and walked into the research institute on his own. You see, there is no problem at all. After a little while, Pyro John came out again. Satisfied, he gestured to the other three people to hurry over. Cyclops, Colossus, and Angel exchanged a glance, followed by entering the institute, and an oval-shaped hall came into view. There are two completely different forked roads in front of the hall. You're acting so immature. What would you do if there was an ambush inside? Colossus was annoyed at Pyro John's behavior. Isn't this nothing happening? I'm not the kind of kid who doesn't understand anything. I also have my own judgment about danger. Pyro John, on the other hand, spoke back very unconvinced. Okay. Let me take him to the other side. You and Angel explore along this road. Cyclops stood up and acted as a peacemaker. He dragged Pyro to the fork on the left. Let's go take a look too. Angel also grabbed the angry Colossus, and the two of them stepped into the fork on the right. This is a passage that keeps going down all the way. The two soon reached the end of the passage, and the offices they encountered along the way were empty, and the dust was already covered with various utensils. Basement? Angel looked at the heavy iron gate at the end of the passage. Those evil studies are definitely not visible. Colossus turned silver all over, and directly tore the iron gate off. It smells so bad. Angel immediately smelled a rotten smell, and he covered his nose in disgust. Put it on. Colossus offered up a gas mask. Angel quickly took the gas mask and put it on his face. Is this really a research institute? It stinks like those farms. Angel complained as he followed Colossus into the basement. The two explored inside vigilantly. However, apart from the extremely stench, they did not encounter any obstacles along the way. Definitely. There were no living people either. The walls were mottled, as if they had been decayed for many years. Angel guessed that the bad smell was seeping from these walls. Go all the way to the end of the basement passage. They entered an extremely spacious room. There is still no living person in this room, not even a dead man's body can be found. The two X-Men only found a bunch of instruments in the basement. Someone has conducted biological experiments in this place. Colossus looked at the broken petri dish in the center, frowned and immediately made a judgment. He had seen similar things in many Trask's research institutes. Is it our fellow mutant? Angel walked to the broken petri dish, and guessed thoughtfully, maybe the subjects of their experiments resisted? This guess seems reasonable at first glance, but in fact, it can't explain why there is no trace of any fighting at the scene. The whole institute. It was as if all the personnel had evacuated suddenly. There was still a cup of rotten coffee on the table in an office before. You need to see the situation to know. Colossus tried to start the computer in this room. Surprisingly, the computer still works normally and does not require any startup password. He found a lot of incomprehensible information in the computer, all of which were packaged and copied to the USB flash drive, and then he found the monitoring of the research institute. There are many camera surveillance storages inside, and Colossus called up the video of his area. He wanted to know what happened in this room before. My God! They actually experimented with children? Angel also joined in at this time. He saw a group of researchers in protective clothing, busy with something in front of the machines. And the now broken petri dish was filled with a light green liquid during this period of time, and a girl with her eyes closed was placed inside. The girl was only about 5 or 6 years old, her face was as delicate as a doll, she was completely naked, and her whole body was filled with various test tubes. She lay there as if asleep. For study, these bloody bastards. Colossus also looked shocked, and then showed an angry expression. He never expected that Trask was so inhuman. Just after he crushed a metal ingot, in the picture, the little girl who was sleeping with her eyes closed suddenly opened her eyes. Alarm. Alert. There were extremely sharp voices in the entire room, and the researchers were frightened and panicked and wanted to operate in front of the instrument. She shouldn't be waking up at this time, a researcher yelled. Next moment, Colossus and Angel saw on the surveillance screen that the petri dish shattered, and the light green substance inside flowed all over the ground. The little girl was still standing inside. She opened her eyes suddenly, those eyes were as dark as an abyss. With the little girl waking up, large strands of black viscous material also emerged from her body in an instant. This black substance spread crazily to the surroundings, and soon covered the entire room, and all the researchers were wrapped in it. The researchers had no time to escape. Soon, the viscous substance covered the end of the surveillance, and Colossus and Angel could no longer see the scene. In the megaphone, there were only countless painful roars, which made the two of them feel horrified. This compatriot ability is a bit scary. Angel's complexion was very pale. He felt that the little girl's ability in the picture was very weird. They did that kind of thing, they should. Colossus was about to say that this was retribution, but suddenly, he felt the temperature of the air drop sharply, and what he hadn't finished speaking stopped abruptly. It's not right. Angel also had a premonition of danger. Both of them looked towards the door of the room at the same time. The expressions all changed drastically. The already modeled walls were covered with black mold at some point, and the mold was spreading wildly at an extremely unreasonable speed. Just like what happened in the surveillance video, the mold invaded the eyes of the two X-Men in a blink of an eye. "You want to play with me too?" A voice echoed in my ears. It seemed to come from those black substances, and it seemed that the voice appeared directly in the mind. The expressions of the two X-Men were extremely shocked. "She's going to attack us." Colossus recognized this substance, which belonged to the girl being studied. He felt that the crisis was approaching, and his whole body had turned silvery white. Boom! There were crisp footsteps suddenly sounded. The direction outside the gate. The lights that were originally bright began to dim in an instant, as if some invisible and intangible force had affected the lighting circuit. "We're here to save you. We're not those bad guys." Angel yelled in the direction of the gate. At the moment, there was a girl with a smaller stature standing in the direction of the gate. Surrounded by countless molds, she was still naked, and her eyes were full of weird excitement looking at the two X-Men. "Stay. Stay with me," as the girl's voice fell. The growth of mold became more and more crazy, and the entire basement room became more dilapidated and decayed, as if it had been eroded by decades of time in a flash. "Damn. These things are poisonous." Angel flapped his wings and flew into the sky. The mold quickly surrounded the two X-Men and entangled Colossus' legs. Due to Colossus and the metallization of his body, for a while, this terrible mold has no way to corrode his metal body. She can't seem to communicate at all. Colossus kept tearing at the mold on his body, and after throwing away a handful, more mold soon covered and stuck to his body. Rotten breath. Make him nauseous again and again. Even if that erosive power would not be able to harm him for a while, black spots appeared on the surface of his mold-covered body. "I'll knock her out first." Angel, who was in midair, avoided the attack of the mold, and rushed straight to the innocent-looking little girl standing at the gate. Giggle. The little girl did not hide. Instead, he let out a childish laugh at the approaching Angel. She tilted her head slightly, looking like a cute little sweetheart. Just when Angel approached her, the little girl's pupils spun suddenly, and then a gust of wind suddenly rose, blowing in Angel's direction. "What did you do to me?" Angel hugged his head in great pain, and fell into it from midair. A large amount of black sticky and foul-smelling substances began to come out of his mouth. Goo goo goo. Angel, in great pain, wanted to speak. However, he couldn't make a sound at all, and a foul-smelling black substance began to emerge from his nostrils, ears, and any other places where there were holes. "Come here with me. Play with me." At the last moment of loss of consciousness, Angel heard the little girl's voice, in his head. "You killed him. My God. What kind of monster are you?" Colossus saw Angel fall to the ground and was swallowed up by mold in an instant. He first roared at the little girl, and then acted like a bull. Rushed over. It's just a pity that his steel body can't help him resist that kind of wind. The little girl's pupils turned again, and Colossus fell to his knees on the ground in an instant. Like Angel, he felt the abnormal pain inside his body. Large streams of black matter emerged from Colossus' mouth, and his steel skin degenerated into a normal human body due to the severe pain. Do not. Colossus cannot escape the same fate as Angel. The body was completely covered by mold. There are 2 more. The little girl turned her head and left the basement. About 10 minutes later, she found Cyclops and Burning John among the buildings on the ground. The 2 of them didn't even see the little girl, they just felt a gust of dark wind blowing over, and then they fell to the ground and pus began to flow from their orifices. There was black sticky substance all over the place, and the 2 remaining X-Men also declared their deaths. The girl dragged the feet of the 2 of them and walked happily towards the basement. Along the road, 2 crooked black marks were left. It can be seen that the girl dragged the 2 of them with difficulty, but her mood was extraordinarily happy, as if what she was holding was not some dead man, but 2 giant like a teddy bear. The girl walked very slowly, and even hummed a light-hearted nursery rhyme. Join my big family. The little girl went back to the basement. Toss Cyclops and Burning John, Colossus and Angel together, and watch the 4 of them be completely swallowed by black mold. After all 4 people were digested and turned into mold, the little girl spread out her hands in satisfaction, as if she was welcoming something, and all the mold quickly burrowed back into her body the next moment. The entire basement, except for the increasingly mottled and smelly walls, there was no trace of mold anymore. The little girl smiled with satisfaction, turned and left. Behind. Only the computer screen that has not yet cut off the power. After playing a video, it automatically switches to the next video. How is the condition of the experimental subject? In surveillance video. The research institute in the basement is still intact. Numerous staff are busy. The enemy of the mutants, Trask, bent on turning the mutants into weapons, entered the room with a man in a black cloak. He questioned the researchers. I can't believe it. There is such a perfect creature in this world. I think we will be able to fully control her soon. The researchers were very excited with their frenzied looks. She should be called the perfect weapon. Trask looked at the petri dish and corrected the researcher. I'll use her to hunt those dirty and vile mutants. In words, Trask's tone was filled with hostility towards the mutant. Is this what you gained in that small town? The man in black suddenly asked, his voice hoarse and deep. That's right, it was her. That was the luckiest day of my life, and I still believe in it to this day. Kusk didn't know what to think of, and her expression became a little scared. She walked up to the petri dish and touched the glass lightly. I also know a lot about what happened in that place, so I'm curious about a question that maybe you don't want to answer. The man in black walked to Trask's side. Is she a survivor of that disaster, or the source of the disaster in that mausoleum? The man in black looked very serious, however. It doesn't matter, does it? Trask did not give a definite answer. He just looked at the little girl in the petri dish. His flickering eyes looked a little dark and strange. The isolated islands in the Pacific fell silent again. The other side. New York. Umbrella Biotech. Chu Mu and Dr. Marcus are still talking. Chairman, please don't shut down our research. I swear, in at most 2 years, my research will definitely bring benefits to the company. Dr. Marcus begged again. I'm not trying to give up on your research, but there are still more important research needs to be done, and you and your people need to be transferred there. Chu Mu definitely will not directly say that the Sun Staircase project must be terminated, but he is well aware of how terrifying the stubbornness of these Frankensteins is. Do you want me to do other research? Dr. Marcus frowned. Chairman, with all due respect, I don't think there is any research that is more important than this research that can benefit all mankind. For the benefit of all mankind. Ha ha. Make the whole world full of zombies. That would be a great blessing to all mankind. Chu Mu thinks the only good news is that Dr. Marcus has not made any progress yet. The original sample of the T-virus has not yet been researched, and the mycelial virus in that town has not spread and affected more places. What about super soldier serum? Chu Mu knew to divert the mad scientist's attention. Nor was he concerned that Dr. Marcus didn't know about the super soldier serum. In fact, among scientists, super soldier serum is not a secret, and various organizations are looking for scientists and companies to carry out reverse research work. What? You got the formula for the super soldier serum? Dr. Marcus was taken aback, and immediately became pleasantly surprised after recovering. Really? Super soldier serums are a big draw for any scientist. I got part of the formula of the serum, which is definitely more perfect than the formulas obtained by other companies, so I need someone as good as you to join in the reverse engineering. Chu Mu raised Dr. Marcus's ability to there is no way he can't. Seeing how Chu Mu praised his ability so much, Dr. Marcus's expression became visibly happier. He doesn't have much taste, so after weighing it in his heart, he immediately approved of Chu Mu's decision. The solar ladder can be put on hold for a while, and you can continue to study it at any time. Obviously, Dr. Marcus does not have to catch the virus in the solar ladder. When there is a better research direction, his choice is also very decisive. If the super soldier serum can be restored, it will be an evolution and carnival for all mankind. Dr. Marcus became more and more excited as he thought about it. I can't wait to join the research work of serum immediately. That is the super soldier serum that created the miracle of World War E. No scientist can refuse to reproduce the miracle of Captain America. At the moment, the love of Dr. Marcus's heart is no longer the virus in the ladder of the sun. Chu Mu also understands his emotions very well. The United States after World War E in the Marvel Universe has shaped Captain America into a god-like existence. This is obviously an approach to unite the hearts of the people. For a dead hero, politicians definitely don't hesitate to use him for publicity. It's just that these politicians never dreamed that Captain America would come back from the dead one day in the future. It's nice that you're putting the big picture first. Chu Mu was very satisfied with Dr. Marcus's response. In this way, the bloody research on Resident Evil could end harmoniously. Chu Mu felt that he had saved the world once from being invisible. In order to compensate you, I will ask the financial department to increase your salary by 30%. Chu Mu gave Marcus another favor. Nobody knows Marvel better than him. He knew very well that Marcus's emotions had to be appeased. After all, there are so many monsters in the Marvel universe that they were researched by unwilling mad scientists because capitalists gave up their investment. Chu Mu is aware of this development law, and he chooses to avoid this development plot. Thank you, Chairman. Thank you. Marcus was moved to the point of tears. For his reaction, Chu Mu was very satisfied. All dangerous samples must be destroyed, and only the research materials are kept. This laboratory will have to be used to cooperate with the restoration of super soldier serum. Chu Mu asked again and again. Afterwards, he delivered another speech that he was very optimistic about Dr. Marcus. Dr. Marcus, who felt that he was valued by the leaders, happily agreed to all of them, and did not suspect that Chu Mu was actually just trying to stop him from researching viruses. Everyone must clean up carefully, we must not let down the trust of the chairman. After Chu Mu left, Dr. Marcus began to lead his own team members to carry out a rigorous work on the research project of the solar ladder. Most researchers have no opinion, as long as there are project research and salary, it doesn't matter what type of project they study. Moreover, the reverse reduction of super soldier serum. Who wouldn't want to be part of a project like this? To say that the only person in the entire scientific research team who has an opinion may be Marcus's most proud student. Teacher, I think you have been fooled by the chairman. That man just wants to close our project. We can't just compromise like this. The scowling man was a handsome young man who Marcus had cared for and taught since he was still at school. William, you shouldn't maliciously speculate on the chairman's thoughts like this. Dr. Marcus, who has become a loyal minister, severely reprimanded his students. Then what should I think? He asked us to destroy all experimental samples. If it is really just to suspend the experiment, it needs to be so thorough? William retorted with a look of resentment. You and I are very clear about how dangerous these experimental samples are. The chairman's order is not wrong. We only need to keep a mycelium. It's not like you don't know their reproduction speed. As for the sun ladder, there are as many flowers as there are in the virgin forest in Africa. Marcus never doubted Chu Mu's purpose at all. Instead, he felt that the orders given by Chu Mu were very professional. You were tricked by him. William still insisted on his views. Don't you want to repeat the miracle of Captain America? Marcus wants to convince his protege with the super soldier serum. Super soldier serum is indeed a very powerful invention. The young guy named William took a deep look at his teacher. He didn't continue to talk too much with Dr. Marcus, and turned around to follow other staff to clean up various samples in the laboratory. Dr. Marcus thought he had convinced William, and when he was doing the sealing work for the next time, his mind was full of super soldier serum. Dr. Marcus didn't notice. William had been paying attention to his expression the whole time. Super soldier serum. Hee hee. No matter how powerful its strengthening effect on the human body is, its reenactment will only make the world marvel at Abraham's genius again. The ancestor virus is the miracle that can carry our name. William sighed in his heart, then gritted his teeth and made a bold decision. He began to observe his colleagues who destroyed the experimental samples together, and secretly brought a tube of progenitor virus to the laboratory toilet while others were not paying attention. In this cubicle, William did something that ordinary people can't even imagine. He reluctantly stuffed the test tube into that indescribable part of himself. After coming out of the toilet and returning to the laboratory, William looked a little awkward when he walked. He lied that he had suffered from hemorrhoids, and then cleaned up with other colleagues. The development of the matter was as expected by William. Dr. Marcus did not notice that a tube of virus was missing, but just when William felt secretly happy and fortunate. Catch. William sat down on a chair. He felt something break in his ass. William is a very professional doctor of biology. Even though he has just recently obtained a doctorate, as Dr. Marcus's favorite student, no one will question the professionalism of his knowledge. Among the many experimental projects led by Dr. Marcus in the past, William left a good impression of his calmness in the hearts of many academic leaders with his calm personality in the face of accidents. As a young scientist, William clearly had a bright future ahead of him. William has always felt that not only his ability, but also his heart is much firmer and stronger than anyone else. This is the basic quality necessary to be an excellent scientist. It's just that this time, William's proud and strong mentality was completely unable to survive the sudden accident. Protovirus. Hundreds of mice die every day from its injections. After the mice were injected with the progenitor virus, only a few surviving individuals were born, and each of the surviving individuals turned into crazy and hideous mouse monsters. How could it be like this? William didn't want to die young, and he didn't want to become a monster, but now the test tube containing the ancestor virus had a serious leak in his ass. Do not. William panicked. Think of the miserable death of those little white mice. He felt the extreme fear from the bottom of his heart, and now, he could only pray that the ancestor virus was magical enough, and the effect of injection absorption was different from the effect of his rectal absorption. He hurriedly ran out of the toilet. I still have some things at home. I'll leave it to you to deal with. William resisted the pain of the glass piercing his rectum in his buttocks. He looked a little strange and asked his mentor Marcus for leave, and then hurriedly left the underground laboratory with his buttocks between his legs. Marcus only thought that William left early because of the cancellation of the project and was in a bad mood, and didn't pay much attention to William's abnormal reaction. All the samples that should be destroyed have been destroyed. You have cleaned out the laboratory. I will report to the research department of super soldier serum first. Marcus carefully kept the last strain of mycelium in the biological vault, and after giving orders to the researchers under him, he couldn't wait to walk towards the elevator. Nobody cared about William leaving. The closure of the laboratory has clearly made security measures less stringent. After William left the Umbrella Biotechnology building, he immediately returned to his cheap rental house in New York. Please be safe. William performed enemas and colon cleansing operations on himself in the rental house. For a long time after that, he was extremely anxious and nervous. I don't want to be a monster. Those mutated mice kept flashing in William's mind. Probably because he felt that colon cleansing and enema are not safe, he injected himself with a large amount of antibiotics and other drugs that can suppress viruses and bacteria. William knew very well that the progenitor virus he hid was not the original progenitor virus, but a new variety bred by mixing it with mycelium. Originally, I wanted to bring it back and study it secretly. I didn't expect such an accident to happen now. William felt nothing but unspeakable terror. 10 minutes. Half an hour. 1 hour. William spent hours in excruciating agony. In a panic, he estimated the time it took for the mice to be infected, die and mutate after being injected with the progenitor virus in the laboratory. I didn't feel any bad reaction, so the rectum can't absorb the virus. After checking his blood pressure and blood color, William showed a smile of the survivors. He only felt that this time he was catastrophe. The virus didn't affect me physically, apart from some tinnitus, which in fact was probably just because I was too nervous. William observed for a while, but he still didn't feel uncomfortable at all. He was completely relieved, and began to regret that he hadn't brought out the virus intact. Come here. It seemed that there was a childish voice talking in his ear. William was startled, and he concentrated, but found that there was no child's voice at all. Maybe it's a child from the neighbors next door. William consoled himself. The sound insulation effect of the rental house is not good. It is also normal to be able to hear the voices of the children next door. William forcibly ignored that there were no children living next door to him, and walked to the toilet with a face of cold sweat, wanting to. "I'll be fine." William first observed his complexion, and after feeling that it was very ruddy, there was no problem. Then he poured a pool full of water, bowed his head, and rubbed the facial cleanser. In the mirror. On the surface of William's face with his head buried, it seemed that there were some bugs surging inside, but he didn't have the slightest awareness or perception. Chu Mu arranged the matter of Umbrella Biotechnology, and saw during the monitoring that Dr. Marcus was sincerely processing the virus samples in the laboratory. Only then did he feel relieved and left the building of Umbrella Biotechnology. Definitely, just to be on the safe side, he asked the company's seductive secretary to keep an eye on the follow-up work. It can only be said that Chu Mu has too little experience as a boss. He didn't realize that the enchanting secretary arranged for him by Almighty I actually didn't have outstanding workability and security awareness. William managed to carry a tube of the virus through his rectum. The enchanting secretary who was in charge of watching the destruction work didn't notice it at all. In fact, if he were an experienced boss like Tony Stark, he would definitely not entrust such an important job to such a secretary. After all, well known, a hot secretary. Generally, they are not used to do work, but to do some dirty work for the boss. That kind of work should also be considered dirty work. "What are you doing standing here?" As soon as Chu Mu returned to the Star Building and stepped into his own office area, he saw Quicksilver standing at the elevator door with his hands folded on his chest like the god of door. He also put the sunglasses on his forehead over his eyes, with a serious and vigilant face, and those who didn't know would probably think that he was watching the scene at the entrance of the bar. As soon as the elevator door opened, Chu Mu, who was still thinking about something, suddenly saw the god of door Quicksilver, and almost didn't scare him, so he directly gave Quicksilver a big fight. "Didn't you ask me to be a security guard?" Quicksilver pushed the sunglasses to his forehead, and looked at Chu Mu, who was taken aback by him in doubt. He felt that he was working as a security guard right now. "Well, our company doesn't have any important assets, so you just need to guard the few computers in the company, and you can also access the internet at ordinary times." "Can you surf the internet?" Chu Mu only thought that Quicksilver was an upright and honest man. He pressed Quicksilver on the shoulder and brought Quicksilver back to the company's office area. "Won't." Quicksilver's answer was crisp. "As a waif. How can there be a chance to touch high-level things like computers? Then you can find some entertainment here, you don't need to stand there all the time. The working atmosphere of our company is still very relaxed." Chu Mu didn't intend to count on the studio here to make money at all, so he would maintain his cards and occasionally draw the TV series and movies he wanted to watch. "I can play ping-pong with myself." Quicksilver's eyes lit up. "Reminds me of my unique skills." "Well, we don't have a ping-pong table yet." Chu Mu felt that it would definitely scare Aunt May and Sky, so she politely rejected Quicksilver's idea. He saw a thick stack of newspapers at the door. Sitting there and reading the newspaper is considered entertainment. Chu Mu stuffed the newspaper into Quicksilver's hand, but Quicksilver accepted it happily. Learning about the world. Not bad. Quicksilver moved a stool, sat in the center of the company's office lobby, and read the newspaper with relish in the direction of the elevator. Good guy. With newspapers and a bench, the man still didn't forget to watch the door. Chu Mu didn't know whether to say that Quicksilver was dedicated to his work or that he was dead-headed. He only knew that Quicksilver must be a peerless big brain. Knowing the importance of looking at the gate from a young age is simply 40 years less detours, and 40 years more experience than those who only look at the gate at the age of 60. Amazing. Chu Mu first went to Sky's room to have a look. He sensed Sky's mental fluctuations. Black Widow Natasha Romanoff did send Sky back intact. "Are you okay?" What Chu Mu asked was about this afternoon. "Definitely, there's no problem, don't worry about me. The doctor said I'll be fine after 2 more days of sleep." Sky thought that Chu Mu was asking about hypoglycemia coma. She didn't remember what happened in the afternoon, and naturally her mentality would not change in any way. She even played a trick and asked for 2 days off for herself. In fact, when she was discharged from the hospital, she was no different from a normal person. "Then you have a good rest. Don't have any pressure, there is nothing to do these 2 days." Chu Mu has no doubts about Sky's statement. Normal people will have more or less psychological problems when they encounter that kind of strengthening attack. The conversation between the two people is obviously not on the same channel. But it is still miraculous that there is no communication barrier. Chu Mu can spy on other people's memories, but it doesn't mean that he will turn on the spying mode all the time. For people who are already familiar with him, unless he wants to know what the other person is thinking, Under normal circumstances Chu will not activate his ability. Wanda. Chu ordered Sky to drink more hot water, and then walked to the office where Jiali was, and he sensed that Wanda's spiritual power was here. Is my bag of salted prawns delicious? Let me tell you, in fact, at the beginning my sister came to your planet. To your big international city. I was forced to become a 9-to-5 accountant. Jiali was sharing delicious food to the newcomers in the company. Seeing Wanda eating very delicious food, her eyes narrowed into a beautiful crescent moon. My big brother and I are not from this place, we wandered from other places. Wanda lowered her head with a little inferiority. Now you don't need to be homeless, the boss is so nice, he even asked me to help you find a school to study in, and the life of you and your big brother will get better and better in the future. Jiali touched Wanda's head, and said softly to Wanda, actually, my sister also came here by smuggling from a very remote place. Sister, are you smuggling too? Wanda's eyes widened in shock, she never expected that the big sister, who looks and dresses so nicely, is actually the same as her. Definitely. My father doesn't even know that I'm here, so you have to keep this secret for me. Jia lowered her voice. It's like whispering something. Chu is outside the gate. He heard clearly what the two girls, one big and one small, said. It was also the first time he knew that Carrie was hiding. The family came to New York. Good guy. Why didn't your dad stop your bank card? Or, is the previous pocket money enough for you to enjoy delicious and spicy food? Chu roughly estimated that Jiali's weekly consumption will not be less than 30,000 USD. The clothes and pants on Carrie's body, and even the earrings are all famous international brands. Only a naive Wanda would believe that Carrie came to the United States illegally. The United States never refuses rich people to join. You're persecuting company members again. As soon as Chu entered the gate. I saw Jiali stuffing snacks into Wanda's clothes and trouser pockets. Now except for him, basically everyone in the company has gained at least 5 or 6 caddies. Matt, the company's lawyer, has been depressed recently. It seems that when he was righteous a few days ago, he found that his skills are not as flexible as before. Children just need to eat more to grow their body. Jiali was confident, and stuffed a bunch of snacks into Wanda's hand again. Wanda had never had a snack before. Now I just feel very happy. She is very clear that the reason why she can have all of this is brought to her by the man in front of her. Big brother, I don't want to study, I want to stay by your side. Just like my big brother, I can help you watch the door. Wanda spoke to Chu seriously. It seems that Wanda also knows that Quicksilver's actions are guarding the gate. As a person who knows how to repay, she hopes she can make a difference too. Only if you study hard and acquire knowledge, can you help me do more meaningful things in the future? It is enough to have your big brother alone at the gate. Chu sternly rejected Wanda's request, but Wanda has some hesitation. She hopes from the bottom of her heart that she can also do things for Chu, not just be taken care of by Chu and Chu subordinates. Don't you want to do more for me? Chu is kind and persuasive. Wanda was afraid that Chu would misunderstand, so she shook her head nervously. No, I want to help you do more things, big brother. That's it. Chu persuaded Wanda to study. He is very aware of the importance of reading, especially for a person with a high level of power like Wanda. Magneto, that guy. But it was because she didn't read any books when she was a child that she played herself as the Iron King. Chu didn't want Wanda to follow in her father's footsteps. Later, you take Wanda out to buy some clothes, and by the way, bring some sets for her big brother, and you can reimburse the company's account for the money you spend. Chu said something to Jiali when leaving this room. He also took away a large bag of snacks. Chu, who returned to his office, turned on the TV to watch today's news as usual. Really? Transformation of people's riots. It has been fabricated as an accident of a natural gas leak and explosion. In this day and age, mutants and any supernatural powers are actually still secrets to most people, and only those who have really encountered them know the truth of the world. However, those who had encountered this incident were all severely warned afterwards and signed confidentiality agreements one by one, so the spread of the truth is not too large. There are also some networks. Similar topics are discussed in the forums, and many people who have never encountered them just treat these topics as urban legends. Sky is a girl who is keen on urban legends. I really want to see if Sky knows that she is actually a member of the urban legend. What a wonderful expression this little girl will show. Just when I was about to turn off the TV to watch the drama, the TV screen flickered suddenly. There was an urgent news break. The CEO and chairman of the Stark Group, the famous New York City philanthropist Tony. Our reinforcements in Afghanistan have already communicated with the local government armed forces, and carried out a blanket search for traces of Tony Stark in Afghanistan. Relevant experts have determined that Tony Stark is dead, and Obadiah, director of the Stark Group, said that he is unwilling to accept this result. Anyone who can provide clues about Tony Stark can call this number, and after verification, they will receive 10 million USD in gratitude. The news host on the TV station announced a big news to the public. See this news. Chu Mu narrowed his eyes slightly. He knows. The true curtain of the Marvel Universe is about to unfold. There are events. No one is allowed to change in the Marvel Universe. Just like Doctor Strange can become a powerful sorcerer supreme only when his hands are scrapped, this is a story that must happen to maintain the stability of the Marvel Universe. The disappearance of Tony Stark is also an anchor point that the Marvel Universe cannot avoid. The advent of the era of chaos in the Marvel Universe, the disappearance of Tony Stark is the prologue that opened the curtain of chaos. Since then, all kinds of strange powers and gods have begun to emerge. If you study the history of the Marvel Universe carefully, you will find that before Iron Man Tony Stark appeared, the probability of supernatural events happening around the world was actually very low. This allowed S.H.I.E.L.D. to rely on the size of 2 or 3 big cats and kittens to maintain the superficial tranquility and peace of the entire world. If I remember correctly, it was only a few years between the birth of Iron Man and the invasion of Thanos. Chu Mu recalled the details in his memory, couldn't help but sighed slightly in his heart, and mourned for the Earth humans in the Marvel Universe for a while. During the next few years, the humans on Earth in the Marvel Universe can definitely be said to be full of disasters. The proper high-risk world has no water at all, and it is extremely unfriendly to ordinary humans. If it is going to be more miserable, it is estimated that the world of Dragon Ball World, where human beings around the world will die once, can win by shore. But if you take out the New York of the Marvel Universe alone, compared with Dragon Ball, it is estimated that it is definitely not much better. As New York, the hardest hit area of major incidents, the funds spent on reconstruction for 1 year alone are enough to feed some underdeveloped small countries. This station will broadcast a piece of news that Obadiah, the director of the Stark Group, is willing to spend $30 million to seek clues to Stark. Interviews with journalists began to appear on television. Tony is my nephew. I don't want to accept that he will die in that kind of place. No matter how much money I spend, I must find him. Obadiah is a bald man with a white beard and a hypocritical personality only possessed by a politician. He cried and cried on TV, and vividly interpreted the image of a good uncle. Chu Mu is very aware of Tony Stark's disappearance. It was this guy who did it. It's really a cat crying and a mouse pretending to be merciful. Chu Mu was amazed by Obadiah's acting skills. Sure enough, the bald head is far superior to others in some aspects. This bald head probably gave full play to the acting skills. 30 million to seek clues from Stark. Then if I find Stark directly, wouldn't he just give me all his wealth? Chu Mu jokingly picked up the remote control and switched several channels in succession to Obadiah. He could only switch the TV channel to the children's channel. Chu Mu is not interested in the 30 million yuan at all. It's better to take a look at Peppa Pig. He doesn't believe that Obadiah will really take out the money. It is estimated that as long as anyone dares to provide clues and let Obadiah know that Stark is not dead, the bald man who has just sent an assassin to kill Stark will order an additional package with the killer organization to kill the person who provided the clue. I don't look down on this little money either. Chu Mu turned on the computer on his desk and logged into the stock account brought by his status as top rich man. As a top rich man with tens of billions of income every year, his identity naturally brings more than just an umbrella biotechnology company. There are also various assets that match the top rich man. From a secular point of view, the status of the top rich man brings great convenience to the prohibition of grazing. Matt. After Chu Mu looked at his assets, he called his lawyer to the office. He needed some legal help. Although the team of lawyers on the umbrella side is perfect, Chu Mu still believes in the subordinates of his old nest. After all, not every lawyer is a superhero. Boss, did you call me? Matt has been screwed this time around. Originally, he wanted to come in to investigate the weirdness of this company, but now he has also integrated into the atmosphere of loving each other as a family. When I quit superhero, it's also good to stay in this kind of company. So Matt's only doubt is how does Chu Mu start this company to make money, and the company is now a TV series that has not been released for a long time. Have you heard about the Stark Group? Chu Mu checked the information on the computer. touched his chin and asked Matt in a deep voice. Definitely, I didn't expect that playboy to be reduced to such a fate. Nowadays, many industries have experienced strong turmoil. Matt's expression suddenly became serious. His accident. For some elites, it will indeed be greatly affected. Chu Mu nodded in agreement. The Stark Group is not a company that only sells weapons. It is actually involved in a wide range of industries, and has cooperation projects with many companies. And once Tony Stark, the backbone of the Stark Group, passes away, it will be a big earthquake for those companies that are cooperating with the Stark Group. No one knows whether the Stark Group can continue its former glory without Stark, which is why the Stark Group's stock price plummeted. The boss asked me to come because I have shares in the Stark Group? Matt made a very reasonable guess. For many rich people, buying shares in the Stark Corporation was a surefire bet, at least until Tony Stark disappeared. If Chu Mu has a large number of Stark Group stocks in his hands, it can explain why Forbidden Animal Husbandry has money to support such a few people. Matt has guessed Chu Mu's financial source more than once. Although he felt that Chu Mu was dangerous, he had already confirmed that Chu Mu was definitely not some vicious person. Evil people won't watch Baka Baka, Maka Maka. Also, what's on TV now is the classic children's program Peppa Pig. You can hear it by listening to the sound. It's so recognizable. I don't have Stark shares in my hand right now, but I see a lot of people are selling, so I plan to take advantage of this moment to get in quickly. Chu Mu finds tens of millions unattractive because he is eyeing this opportunity to make a fortune, and the stock of Stark Industries is depreciating wildly now. Other Tai Han don't know that Stark is not dead, so many people think that Stark Industry is doomed. Among them even Buffett, the stock god of the Marvel Universe. When a missile bombed that place in Afghanistan, no one would think that Stark was still alive, especially if the missile was still produced by Stark Industries. Boss, if you have money and no place to spend it, you can give the money to those who need it. Matt was stunned for a long time before he realized it. What the hell? Others can't wait to quickly sell the shares of Stark Industries. Why did he come to his boss and want to take advantage of this opportunity to buy? How can he not see the situation clearly and want to play stocks? Matt has already started to think about how to find a job in the next company after Chu Mu went bankrupt up. I'm not kidding you. It was not easy to buy Stark Industries stock before, but now this is an excellent opportunity. Chu Mu said solemnly. He is different from others. He knows that Stark is not dead, and he will come back with inventions that cross the ages. Investing in Stark Group stocks at this time is like starting to mine bitcoins in 2009, and you can make a lot of money directly. Definitely. Chu Mu's purpose is not just to make money. In fact, he is not very interested in money, and the money earned by Umbrella Biotech is already enough for him to squander. If I hold a large number of shares, can I become the majority shareholder of Stark Industries and influence the appointment of the CEO and chairman? Chu Mu is not a person with bad tastes. The reason why he has such an idea is because every boy has a mecha dream. Who doesn't want to wear a set of steel armor? In front of the 1.7 meter long legs and the steel armor, I believe that no boy will hesitate. I don't think this is a good idea. Playboy is dead, and the pillar of Stark Industry is gone. It is foreseeable that it will decline rapidly in the future. Matt did not answer Chu Mu's question, but expressed himself euphemistically. The opinion of. That's not the answer I want to hear. Chu Mu looked at Matt. Although his tone was not heavy and his eyes were not sharp, Matt, who was blind but caring, felt great pressure. Matt sighed, and finally spoke. Even at a time like this, it is definitely not an easy thing to get enough shares to influence the board of directors. His statement is still very euphemistic. He was saying that he felt that Chu Mu didn't have that much money. Well, indeed, a skinny camel is bigger than a horse. Chu Mu agreed with Matt's statement, and he looked at his bank card account with some concern. Among the shares of Stark Industries, 40% of the shares are in the hands of Tony Stark, and 2% is in the hands of Obadiah. If you want to obtain enough shares to affect Tony Stark's status, you must at least own more than 40% of the shares. However, even so, you can't shake Tony Stark's position. Obadiah has always been on the side of the Stark family. Now that Tony Stark has passed away, he doesn't have any relatives. It is estimated that the person who inherits his shares should be that mediocre Obadiah. Matt still showed his professionalism a little bit, and at the same time, secretly told Chu Mu's Stark Group that there is no future. You mean to say that in the stock market, only 35% of the shares are in circulation? Forbidden Grazing focuses on other aspects. To be exact, Only 10% of the shares are in circulation on the market, and a lot of capital also holds considerable shares. Matt patiently explained to Chu Mu. He felt that Chu Mu's tone just now seemed to be very disappointed. Didn't he know how much 35% would cost? 10%. I think Buffett is selling. Presumably those capital investment banks will sell their shares soon, right? Chu Mu stared at the changes in the stock market on the computer. Do you think that according to this momentum, 100 billion, I can eat all the shares sold? His tone was somewhat uncertain. The main reason is that I have never done this kind of bottom hunting before, so I seem a little inexperienced. Matt's expression was wonderful. What did you say? Matt, who can hear very well, lost confidence in Chu Mu's words. Seeing the indescribable expression on Matt's face, Chu Mu thought it was Matt who felt that the money was too little, and he sighed a little depressed. I only have 100 billion in cash in my hand now. If you give me some time and I sell some properties, I should be able to make up tens of billions. Unfortunately, time waits for no one. If Shield confirmed that Stark is not dead, presumably those shares that have been sold out will become difficult to buy, and the marinated egghead can have. Funding to build safe houses in various places is not just based on corruption. Boss, are you kidding me? Matt didn't know what to say for a while, and his expression was simply wonderful. Listen. Is this human? 100 billion, or just 100 billion? Then sell some real estate and make another tens of billions. If what Chu Mu said is true, Matt felt he no longer had to wonder why the company was so laid back. This is definitely the kind of real rich people who can support thousands of people. However, is this really possible? How many talents in the world have hundreds of billions of assets? I'm not kidding about things like this. Chu Mu has been buying Stark stocks frantically. Even if the current Stark stocks are not at the price of cabbage, they are definitely a buy and earn. Where did you get so much money? Matt felt that it was time for him to think again. Did Chu Mu have an improper occupation? If I remember correctly, this is a mutant lair? Didn't I tell you? Do I still have a listed company? Umbrella Biotechnology. I don't know if you have heard of it. Chu Mu operated the computer calmly. My name should be on the Forbes list, but I don't know where it is. There are still people who don't know if they are on the rich list. What an invisible outfit. Matt admitted that he was loaded. He doesn't know. Chu Mu really didn't lie. Obtaining the status of the top rich man from Almighty I only takes more than 10 hours if you do your best. It is true that Chu Mu has never looked at the changes in the Forbes ranking. The Forbes in the Marvel Universe has a higher gold content than the Forbes in the previous life on Earth. I definitely know Umbrella Biotech. The crutch I use is produced by it. Such a large pharmaceutical company is your industry. The shocked Jane in Matt's heart. There was nothing to add, and once again used the long-lost honorific to Chu Mu. Oh. We also make crutches? Chu Mu looked at the crutch in Matt's hand. Good guy. Even this thing has changed before he knew it, with the unique logo of a protective umbrella on it. I sighed again, Almighty. With the strength of his eyes, Mu turned his attention to buying stocks. As Matt didn't know what to say, he always thought he was a second-generation rich boss, but now he turned into a top chaebol. Yes. With the size of Umbrella Biotechnology, Matt feels that it is not appropriate to call Chu Mu a capitalist, and only the chaebol is more appropriate. In the medical field, Umbrella Biotech is what Stark Industries is to munitions. If you want to get involved in arms and heavy industries, investing in Osborne Industries or Hammer Industries is actually a good choice. Stark's head, Obadiah, is not a qualified manager, and he doesn't have Stark ability. Matt didn't know that Chu Mu was really rich before, but now that he found out that Chu Mu had a full 100 billion, he felt that he should stop the crazy behavior of this boss. And what if Stark isn't dead? Chu Mu smiled lightly. One pass operation. He has already harvested the shares sold by many people. What? Matt froze. The possibility never occurred to him. Probably not. I have a reporter friend in Afghanistan. He said that the place where the bomb exploded was very close, and the possibility of surviving is infinitely close to zero. Matt can also hear a lot of inside stories in the industry, and he feels that Chu Mu's information channels should not be inferior to that of a down-and-out lawyer. Perhaps, you can regard this as a gamble. I bet that Stark survived. Chu Mu definitely couldn't say that he knew the truth. He just smiled mysteriously at Matt, comparing himself to a gambler, and that sure tone made Matt feel very puzzled. Does this boss have any deeper inside information? Can he be sure that Playboy is still alive? Lawyer Ma, Daredevil, is actually a smart person, and he probably guessed part of the truth from his heart, but at this moment, Lawyer Ma still doesn't know what he missed. After more than a month, when Tony Stark returns to New York, Matt will deeply feel that the only difference between himself and becoming a billionaire is his trust in Chu Mu's judgment. Over the next few days, Chu Mu is making big purchases of Stark Group shares. Such a large-scale action was also regarded by many people as a big injustice, among which Justin Hammer, the boss of Hammer Industry, mocked the loudest. This person is the top businessman who invented the appalling creation of the ex-wife missile and has been fighting against Tony Stark. Although the ability to make things is not very good, but the ability to sell things is first class, probably similar to that Miss Dong who sold air conditioners before Chu Mu crossed over. In general, Justin Hammer fits the bill for a speculative businessman. But as long as things involve the Stark industry, he will turn into a creature similar to a flat-headed brother, and will swear at all those who support the Stark industry. This is simply stupid behavior. Everyone knows that Stark industry is about to go bankrupt, but there are still people who want to make a splash. I really don't know what this acquirer is thinking. There's nowhere to spend the money. Justin Hammer even posted a video on social platforms to criticize. He directly called Chu Mu a philanthropist who was recycling some garbage that no one wanted. He also bluntly said that this time the Stark industry must be completely finished. I want to throw a tube of T-virus at his house. Chu Mu's mentality has always been good, but he was almost broken by this disgusting guy, and almost flew directly to kill Justin Hammer. He told himself repeatedly in his heart, I, Chu Mu, am not a real Homelander, and I will not just take other people's lives just because they say a few dirty words. Just mad at Deadman. After a good rest, Chu Mu watched another 2 full episodes of the American TV series, The Girl Next Door Grows Up, and immediately started a busy day at work. In fact, there is nothing special to do. It is nothing more than spending a large sum of money to let Sky hire a troll to badmouth Stark Industries, and then Chu Mu spends a sum of money to buy those stocks that have been sold. Damn rich man. His heart is so dirty. Even when others die, they still pour dirty water. Sky has complained more than once that Chu Mu made her work overtime to organize the Navy. Xiao Nizi didn't know that Chu Mu was buying the shares of Stark Group, but relying on the experience of watching dramas, she imagined a love-hate relationship between Chu Mu and Tony. I just think Tony Stark probably snatched Chu Mu's girlfriend? That playboy loves to do this kind of thing the most. If it is said that he had a grudge with Chu Mu because of this, Sky will 100% choose to believe it. Just do what the boss is called. There is something wrong with your ideological consciousness. Quicksilver has also become acquainted with the people in the company recently. He should be regarded as the kind of die-hard loyalist to Chu Mu, because Chu Mu not only brought him a good life, but also sent his sister to the best school. What on earth did the boss use to bribe you? Sky glared at Quicksilver resentfully, and began to manage the group of ugly sailors with dark circles under his eyes. It's a lot of money. Chu Mu is 6 or 7 days later. It has already acquired 26% of the shares of Stark Industries. It took less than 70 billion or so of funds. It is conceivable how severely the stock of Stark Group has fallen. Chu Mu also wants to acquire more, but there are not many shares available for acquisition in the market. A dozen capital investment banks that are not short of money still haven't sold their shares. I don't know if I am watching the situation. Chu Mu is not in a hurry to acquire the shares in these people's hands. All he has to do is wait for Tony Stark to return and announce the closure of the weapons department of Stark Industries. By the time, these capital investment banks are definitely not stable, and Chu Mu will have another chance to harvest stocks, and he can get more than 30% of the shares properly. I don't know who owns Obadiah's 20% in the end. Ban Mu is very greedy for the shares in the hands of this dying person. No wonder there are so many rebirth novels. They all like to get into the stock market after rebirth. Foresight is really an ability that will never fail. Chu Mu sat in front of the computer and felt a lot of emotion. Instead of continuing to operate his account, he stood up and went to the bathroom to wash his hands. Hopefully it brings me a little bit of luck. Chu Mu felt that washing his hands might not be enough, so he carried out some metaphysical Brexit operations, bathed and changed clothes, and even burned incense. There is no other reason for doing such a serious matter. Today, it's time for Chu Mu to extract his identity again. After doing a series of metaphysical operations, Chu Mu prayed to his future self again in his heart. Yes, he prayed to his all-time self. Chu Mu's logic is very hard and reasonable. With the help of Almighty I, there is a high probability that he will become a boss in the future, and it is definitely better to ask for help from himself than to ask other bosses for help. It is better to ask for others than to ask for yourself. I hope I can get a good identity this time. Chu Mu made preparations and began to wait for the countdown in his mind to end. 10, 9, 8, 1, under Chu Mu's expectation. The whole world has once again fallen into a special state of stagnation. World permission access complete. The weekly identity acquisition is completed. In his mind, the pupil symbolizing the eye of God, like a shaking slot machine, began to dance with a burst of colorful halos. Chu Mu held his breath. The pupil watching the almighty eye slowly freezes in his mind. It is silvery white. After the pupil color freezes, the whole world started to operate again. However, the change of history has already happened quietly again. Another silver level status. When will I be able to obtain a platinum level status or a higher level status? Chu Mu sighed in disappointment. He has been coveting for a higher level status for a long time. A gold level status can make him a god. Wouldn't a platinum level status allow him to beat Odin? Be bolder. Diamond level or even crystal level identities are estimated to be so powerful that they can go to the universe and directly arrest the 5 gods of the universe to watch their homes. Hey, the more I think about it, the more I feel uncomfortable. It seems that it is useless to seek my future self. Chu Mu felt that the series of metaphysical operations just now were a waste of time. Depressedly, he began to check the new identity he acquired this time. There is no way, although it is not what you want, but after all, there are some new gains. Silver rank status, Destiny Darling. Reminder. Once the identity takes effect, it will be permanently valid. You are a down-and-out director who is worth billions, possesses super abilities, and is destined to become a god. However, this series of identities are just your appearance. Secretly, you have actually been chosen by fate a long time ago, became the object of fate's favor, and inherited a long-decayed killer organization. Because of an enemy bloodbath, the once powerful and prosperous organization no longer exists. Now there are only a group of fate believers, who are still faithfully waiting for the guidance of fate. You need to represent fate to guide them to grow stronger. Identity exclusive task. Develop and grow the Destiny Assassin Organization, become the world's #1 assassin organization, and complete an assassination that shocked the world. Task reward. Eye of Destiny, good guy. This time, the identity-only task is not the kind that can be easily completed at first glance. It is extremely difficult to cultivate the world's largest killer organization in the Marvel Universe. Not to mention an assassination that shocked the world. Should it make the Prime Minister of the island country laugh, or the President of the United States? For such a laborious task, Chu Mu actually didn't want to complete it, but he changed his mind after seeing the task reward. This ability must be obtained. Chu Mu's eyes are hungry. The Eye of Fate. As the name suggests, it is to allow the eyes to have the ability to determine fate, not the kind that determines other people's lives, but to make the development of things conform to Chu Mu's wishes. Whether this kind of ability is in life or in fighting with others, the role it can play is incomparably huge amounts of. When fighting, suddenly, it was determined that the opponent's next attack would make a mistake. The outcome can be determined by estimation. The reason why such a powerful ability is only a reward brought by the silver level status is because this ability will consume Chu Mu's mental power. If the opponent is too strong, it cannot be influenced. Definitely, if you use it in your life, you don't need to worry about consumption at all. For example, if Chu Mu has a crush on some girl, he only needs to formulate a fate that the other party will appear on his bed tonight, and then there will be a series of coincidences that will lead to this girl appearing on his bed. Why does it feel like the kind of super ability that the protagonist only has in a small island movie? The more Chu Mu thought about it, the more he felt that something was wrong, and he didn't know whether it was a problem with the ability or his thinking. Personally, Chu Mu thought it should be this ability is not serious. The Destiny Assassin Organization. Why do you feel so familiar? After Chu Mu finished watching the rewards, he began to review the identity introduction. He felt a little change in himself. I found that the ability brought by the new identity this time is also very good. He has excellent dynamic strength and bullet time that can slow down other people's movements. The ability of bullet time needs to be activated actively, which puts a lot of load on the user's body. Chu Mu's physical fitness can only be turned on for a few hours. Correct. In addition to these abilities, Chu Mu also mastered a skill in using firearms. Can you bend a bullet? Why do I feel more and more familiar? Chu Mu reacted. Suddenly there was a bad premonition in my heart. He felt that he should not be so unlucky, so he hurried out and drove towards the base camp of the fateful assassins. It's a shop that deals in firearms, it should be different from what I thought. Jin Mu comforted himself in his heart. Along the way, his speed is very fast. About half an hour later, they drove to the entrance of a large gun shop. After entering the door, he went straight to the door leading to the back warehouse of the gun shop, and several black security guards in charge of security work were about to come forward to stop him immediately. That's not the place for you to go in. Among them, the tone of the black security guard had a hint of warning. Chu Mu glanced at a group of black security guards who stopped him. From the shallow memory of this black security guard, he knew that these black security guards were peripheral members of the organization. I don't think anyone is more qualified than me. Chu Mu directly took out a crescent-shaped thing, which was the proof attached to his previous identity. It is a token of fate. The holder is the person favored by fate. Anyway, the information given by Almighty I is like this. It's the leader, the apostle chosen by fate. Sky Hei. Is he our new leader? The black security guards recognized the token in Chu Mu's hand, bowed their heads and apologized to Chu Mu, and respectfully opened the door of the warehouse for Chu Mu. I kind of know why the novels about the return of the Dragon King became popular on Earth in the previous life. This feeling is really cool. After Chu Mu entered the door, just walked towards the place where the core members stayed. How to put it, in fact, there is no need to go to the core members for verification. Stepping into this unique area, Chu Mu was stunned as if struck by lightning. He saw several posthumous photos hung in a room. Sloan Butcher Repairman. A posthumous photo filled the room. Each is a familiar face. Every is someone who has personally killed them. Backquote, the enemy of the organization is myself? Chu Mu was dumbfounded. Knew it. There was nothing wrong with the bad premonition before. The so-called Destiny Assassin organization is the Destiny Brotherhood that he personally destroyed the Foundation and massacred most of the core members. Are you our new leader? A rough voice sounded, and from a certain room, a middle-aged man with a beard and a rough look walked out. I think fate should have announced my existence to you. Chu Mu came back to his senses, and looked at the middle-aged man with a heavy heart. The temperament of this middle-aged man is somewhat melancholy. He is wearing a gray denim jacket, and there is nothing special about him at all from his appearance. But Chu Mu knew. This person is Destiny Brotherhood. No, he is now the top assassin of the Destiny Assassin organization, known as the top master of the cross. In the world of ordinary people, no one can escape his assassination. We all had that dream. Even now I still feel unbelievable. The cross was also looking at Chu Mu. When looking at Chu Mu, he felt an unprecedented sense of crisis. Very strong. It's like as long as he dares to attack, the ending will inevitably be death directly. It is not ruled out that such a strong man will become the new leader of Brotherhood. The self-serving rule has been dissatisfied for a long time. There are others. Chu Mu wants to see how many of his subordinates are left. What kind of person do you mean? Cross sat on a chair, picked up a firearm and adjusted it. An assassin sent by fate. Chu Mu spoke concisely. He is feeling a little depressed now. There is also a woman named Firefox, she went out to buy equipment. Cross's answer is also very straightforward. Chu Mu was dumbfounded. It's gone? His tone trembled a little. Except for those who ran away, everyone else is there. Cross is also quite good at playing a cold humor, pointing to the photo of the house in the next room. Just Chu Mu couldn't laugh at all. He didn't know that he would take over this organization at the beginning, so the attack was indeed ruthless, but it wouldn't mean that there were only 2 Fate assassins left, right? Such an organization. How to develop it? Trained into the world's #1 killer organization? Chu Mu looked towards the room full of posthumous photos. He wanted to know if he seriously apologized to the portrait. Could he trouble these assassins to come back to life regardless of past suspicions? Help? Probably impossible. Chu Mu thought of his cruel method of not leaving the whole body before, and he knew very well that even if the undead magician came, it would be useless. He could only sigh faintly at the pile of portraits. At the beginning, I didn't know what enemies Sloan provoked. Cross then sighed, and spoke in a tone full of grief. He was not regretting Sloan's death, but the other assassins who were loyal to fate. I think it must be an irrational, intolerant and generous enemy. Chu Mu felt bitter. He looked at the cross. I want you to kill someone. Chu Mu felt that he should vent. Arrangement of fate? Cross raised his eyebrows. No, it's my own entrustment. Our organization also accepts other tasks. Chu Mu knows Brotherhood very well. After all, he was the man who killed Brotherhood. The target has to be a bad guy. The Cross did not refuse. Don't worry, he's a proper villain. His name is Justin Hammer. Chu Mu knew that he wanted to be a broad-minded person, so he chose to let others do it. The first step for Chu Mu to take charge of the new company of the Assassin of Fate is to inject a business into his own company, and let the Cross assassinate Justin Hammer, the stinky man who likes to talk high on the internet. These days, Justin Hammer smelt Chu Mu on the internet more than once, and now Justin Hammer should pay for his bad mouth. Chu Mu is no Homelander. He really wouldn't fly over to kill someone just because of his stinky mouth, but that didn't mean he wouldn't entrust the right person to kill Justin Hammer. Eliminate such things for the people. How can it be said that it is because of personal grievances? In the hands of an unconscionable arms dealer like Justin Hammer, it has long been unknown how many innocent souls have been indirectly killed. The Afghan War, as well as the Asian War, all have the shadows of these arms dealers behind them. Do you agree with Justin Hammer that Justin Hammer is a bad guy without seeing the cross? Justin Hammer. That warmonger who made a fortune by selling arms. Cross looked at Chu Mu in surprise. That's right. Chu Mu nodded. What enmity can you have with him? Cross looked puzzled, wondering why the new leader would hate the previous billionaire. He berated me. Chu Mu answered seriously. Probably because he felt that his persuasion was not enough, he immediately emphasized, you scold me every day on the internet, and even hire sailors to scold me together. What a convincing reason. The Cross was at a loss for words for a moment. He looked at Chu Mu with a strange expression, and felt that the new leader was even more outrageous than the previous leader, Sloan. Why did fate choose such an executor who must be punished? Are you the one on the internet who bought a lot of shares in Stark Group? Cross definitely understood the latest hot news. You must be well informed in the business of being a killer. Do you want to say I have a problem too? Chu Mu rested his eyes and looked at the Cross, and the Cross couldn't help but take a few steps back, as if he was afraid that he would also become the object of Chu Mu's order. Definitely not. You are guided by fate, and you may know things we don't. Cross quickly explained his thoughts. He guessed that Chu Mu got a glimpse of Stark's undead fate from the enlightenment of fate. You're a smart guy. Chu Mu patted the Cross on the shoulder, showing an unusually kind smile. Don't be nervous, I'm not a narrow-minded person. Cross smiled dryly and nodded quickly. His eyes looked quite sincere, but he didn't know what was going on in his heart. When can I do it? Can I control the way dies? There was a sense of anticipation in Chu Mu's tone. How do you want him to die? Cross generally would not accept this kind of custom mission, but who made the mission be the new leader Chu Mu? Killed by a weapon made by his own company. I think this kind of death is very dramatic. Do we have guns produced by Hammer Industries here? Chu Mu eagerly looked at the place where the guns were placed. Used to have. The Cross gave a simple and clear answer. Now what? Chu Mu didn't understand the meaning of the Cross. Dogs don't use the weapons they produced, and a group of people who used them before died in the mission. Cross didn't explain in detail what happened to the unlucky assassins, but Chu Mu could also imagine that it was because of a gun failure, resulting in death. Really? The quality of Hammer Industries' stuff is stable. It is indeed a professional counterfeit technology company that created the ex-wife missile. It's time for Justin Hammer's comeuppance. Then you can figure it out. Anyway, I hope to see the news about Justin Hammer's death in tomorrow's news. Chu Mu just felt dull for a while. Assassination of such a target, under normal circumstances, the fee we charge will not be less than 100 million. After the Cross said the quotation, he immediately changed the subject again, but this time, it was considered as a test of our strength after you took office. Request. What a good man. Chu Mu's favor for the Cross soared a lot in an instant. Yes. You are very good. When our organization develops and grows, I will promote you to be the director of the killer. Chu Mu happily painted a big cake for the Cross. If you want to redevelop the organization, it's not enough to rely on me and Firefox. Cross took a deep look at Chu Mu. You don't have to worry about this at all. Those who are willing to fight for fate will eventually join us under the guidance of fate. Chu Mu is already familiar with how to pretend to be a magic stick. He actually has a lot of candidates in his heart. Even the agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. are good choices. When S.H.I.E.L.D. collapses in the future, many agents will definitely not resist changing jobs to become killers. After all, this is also a professional counterpart. Hope so. For the guidance of fate, the Cross no longer has the fanatical belief in the past, and now he only holds the last trace of loyalty to fate. Unlike Firefox's devotion. The reason why the cross is still sticking to his post is because he has been used to being an assassin all his life, and he doesn't know what else he can do besides being an assassin. Retire? People like them have long been unable to integrate into the lives of ordinary people. In the following time, he explained the situation of the organization to Jin Mu again. There are still quite a few peripheral members, but apart from the few blacks he brought to this new base camp, the other peripheral members are not considered loyal and reliable. As for the previous funds of the organization, most of them were used to settle the problems of the textile factory. In fact, the amount of money on the organization's books is not much. During Sloane's reign, the organization's wealth was not less squandered. Chu Mu knew that the cross did not lie, he had read the memory of the cross. At 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon, Firefox, carrying a large box of things, also appeared in this conversation. The new leader. Firefox has a hot figure and is very sexy in clothes. He is wearing a leather jacket and trousers, which outlines the already perfect figure even more unevenly. Don't you think I don't look like it? After Chu Mu showed Firefox the token and let Firefox confirm his identity, he showed an extremely gentle smile in the face of Firefox's teasing eyes. Oh, I just thought the new leader should be stronger, but I didn't expect it to be a good-looking little boy. Firefox joked while chewing gum. Her temper was much hotter than the cross. Do you want to give it a try? Chu Mu knew that if he wanted to tame such a woman, he had to defeat her in the place where she was most proud, so he took the initiative to challenge Firefox. Firefox looked at Chu Mu with great interest. Although you are the new leader chosen by fate, I won't hold back if there is a fight. She wanted to try the quality of the new leader. Cross also wants to see what kind of ability Chu Mu has, which can make a top killer like him feel extremely dangerous, so he played with the gun in his hand and didn't stand up to stop it. The eyes of the cross kept switching between Chu Mu and Firefox. Playing with guns or fighting? Firefox flexed its wrists and neck. It will be all right. There is no pressure at all when Chu Mu is practicing with a mortal like Firefox. Even standing here and letting the opponent attack the opponent cannot hurt him. It's too dangerous to play with guns. Let me test your physical fitness. After the words fell, Firefox rushed towards Chu Mu. Extremely fast. At least in the eyes of ordinary people, the speed is extremely fast. He didn't shout anything to start or prepare, and just kicked Chu Mu, who was sitting on the chair. Ah! In Chu Mu's eyes, Firefox was as slow as a tortoise. This was not a fight of magnitude at all. He raised his hand without haste and easily blocked Firefox's attack. Only at this level? Chu Mu grabbed Firefox's ankle with his backhand. Firefox only felt that his ankle was clamped by the iron tongs. Couldn't get the legs out at all. What happened? Firefox has never seen a person with such strength. She can only use the other leg to go straight up, trying to take advantage of the situation and directly clamp Chu Mu's neck with her legs. It's pretty tough. It is absolutely impossible for Chu Mu to give the other party a chance. He just blocked the other leg of Firefox and threw the whole of Firefox out. Crack. Firefox's whole body hit the wall and made a dull sound. She fell to the ground and couldn't get up because of the pain for a long time. The leader is also quite ruthless. The eyes of the cross kept flickering. He was much higher level than the Firefox. It was very clear that Chu Mu was able to handle the whole process with ease. Not even serious yet. Didn't you say you want to see my physical fitness? How is it? Are you satisfied? Chu Mu also looked at the Firefox on the ground jokingly. He really wasn't serious. Firefox as a whole will be as fragile as a watermelon. If you are serious, then the killer organization he inherited must lose another general. Sharp. Firefox took a deep look at Chu Mu, endured the severe pain and got up from the ground. She was still a little unconvinced about her defeat so quickly. I also want to compare guns, as a woman. Run out and be a killer. The self-esteem must be full. Firearms. Chu Mu smiled. He suddenly grabbed a gun on the table, and before the cross could react, he aimed it directly at Firefox and pulled the trigger. Boom! Gunpowder exploded. The bullet flew out from the muzzle of the gun spinning. As the bullet was aiming at the target, the Firefox felt that Setsuna's own heartbeat stopped at this moment. The instinct from an assassin made her heartbeat instantly speed up to more than 400, but the bullet time that can slow down vision is useless at this moment. Her body couldn't react at all, and she didn't hold any firearm in her hand. She could only watch the bullet cut through the air and lock her eyebrows. Are you going to die? Firefox was horrified. She hadn't expected it. Chu Mu, the new leader, actually said to do it right away. This is dissatisfied with his attitude, so he wants to get rid of his thorn? Firefox felt a little regretful. She closed her eyes. Know that you have no chance to dodge. Now, is it better than guns? After a long time. The severe pain imagined, or the disappearance of consciousness did not appear. After opening his eyes, Firefox only saw Chu-Mu standing by the table with a half-smile. As for the organization's leading killer, Cross, he looked like he had seen a ghost, and stared at him with wide eyes in disbelief. What happened? The ecstasy of the rest of life rose in Firefox's heart. The already cold hands and feet. It also began to gradually feel the temperature again. She was very sure that the bullet just now had clearly locked on her forehead. But why didn't it hit? Firefox looked at Chu-Mu with a playful expression. She guessed in her heart. Could it be? Did the new leader use the bullet-turning technique? But just now, he obviously didn't see the new leader shaking his wrist when shooting. Firefox only felt that the situation was extremely strange. Even gunfighting. It shouldn't have caused such a huge amounts of reaction from the Cross. You. Cross suddenly turned his head to glance at Chu-Mu, and then looked at Firefox again, and finally couldn't help raising his hand to remind him. He pointed to the position between Firefox's eyebrows. Firefox raised her hand in doubt, and the next moment, her heart stopped beating, and her whole body couldn't help but feel a chill down her spine. Bullet. Firefox felt a bullet between his eyebrows. A bullet that stopped at the center of his eyebrows but was still spinning. For Chu-Mu's strength. Both Firefox and Cross are completely convinced. Both of them are people with a lot of money in their hearts. They know that they are just assassins, just killers, and they can't play with scary guys with super abilities. With such a leader, maybe it can really revitalize the organization. Cross couldn't help but throbbed in his heart. He took the Firefox that had been subdued by Chu-Mu, and swore his future allegiance to Chu-Mu. You are the apostle chosen by fate, and under your leadership, we will carry out the will of fate in the mission of correcting history to the end. The two last assassins of fate solemnly swore to fate, and knelt on the ground in front of Jin-Mu with an ancient and complicated etiquette. After a ceremony, Chu-Mu is really in charge of this organization that actually exists in name only. Although he felt a little regretful that he had killed this organization too thoroughly before, it was not bad that there was no moth like the umbrella biochemical virus. Afterwards, I had a meal with two people and used Washa's specialty of dinner table relationship skills to successfully narrow the distance between the subordinates and the leader. Boss. Can your super ability control metal? Firefox finally couldn't hold back the question in his heart, and asked Meng-Mu. The Cross also looked at Chu-Mu curiously. No. Chu-Mu shook his head. The one who controls the metal is called Wan Tiwing. He is just an ordinary super ability user, destined to become a godlike down-and-out director. This is the evaluation given by Almighty I. Definitely. It is impossible for Chu-Mu to have the nerve to say something like this. Therefore, this is the extraordinary place bestowed on me by fate. My will can be imprinted and affect reality. Chu-Mu put it in a more magical way. The two assassins of fate followed suit. It turned out to be a gift from fate. Cross murmured enviously, then murmured suddenly, I knew that Guy Sloan was a parallel importer. He doesn't even have a super ability. How dare he say that he is the executor chosen by fate? Thoughts on the Cross. Chu-Mu felt quite happy. He picked up a piece of twice-cooked pork and stuffed it into his mouth. Then can ordinary people like us get super abilities? Firefox is a young girl, and there is no doubt that super abilities are attractive to young people. As long as you have firm beliefs and fight for destiny, destiny will definitely favor you. Chu-Mu replied seriously. Let Firefox a little excited. Even the Cross stood up in surprise. What? People like myself can also have money ability. Cross, who originally wanted to retire, only felt that his body was rejuvenated. The job of an assassin can be done until he is 80 years old. Come on. In fact, Chu-Mu is not fooling people. When he gets the reward from Umbrella Biotechnology, he will be able to mass-produce super abilities immediately. Eat and drink enough. Chu-Mu took the Cross and Firefox to the Star Building with the absurd reason that the gun shop can only be used as a place to pick up missions, and the core members need a new base. In the future, the two of them will be our company's cleaners. Before Chu-Mu returned to the Star Building, he told the two people that this was a trial of fate, so both Firefox and Cross readily accepted Chu-Mu's arrangement. The cleaners. It is very suitable for the profession of killer. The addition of Cross and Firefox went very smoothly. Chu-Mu's company atmosphere is already very good. Welcome to our family. In fact, there are not many people in the company. The few people who saw the new members were very happy, and immediately expressed a warm welcome to the two killers. Everyone's eagerness made the Cross suspect that he had entered an MLM organization. There are no snobs in the company, and the old employees don't look down on Cross and Firefox because they are cleaners. Jiali enthusiastically shared her food. Sky took the two of them to describe the company's generous treatment, and Aunt May also made a cup of hot tea with just the right temperature for the two of them. Quicksilver wanted to share his newspaper, but neither Cross nor Firefox was interested, and politely declined the company's concierge's offer. Matt, a blind lawyer, kindly inquired about the family situation of the two. He only felt that the company seemed to have entered two very dangerous people, and he could find suspicion from the unusual hands of these two people. Facing the temptation of the company's lawyer Ma, Cross and Firefox answered impeccably. He came from a foreign country. Go to a big city to work and earn living expenses. I haven't seen anything in the world, so I can only do cleaning work. Hearing this familiar answer, Lawyer Ma became more and more sure that there were problems with both of them. Just like other people in the company, he reckoned where Chu-Mu found mutant again. In Matt's limited cognition, any abnormal person in the company is a mutant. You will definitely have a good time living here, Matt said pointedly, with a faint smile on his face that had seen everything through. I think so. Cross smiled back at Matt. Looking at the handicapped man in front of him, he couldn't help feeling how powerful the new leader was, that even the blind man he found could make him feel a sense of crisis. Your eyes do not affect your actions. Firefox looked at Matt as an ordinary person, who could accurately predict where the water glass on the table would be placed, and her eyes widened in disbelief. Although God took away my eyes, he also opened another window for me. Matt took the candy on the table with precision. If they hadn't seen him without sunglasses, neither Firefox nor Cross would have believed that such a free-moving guy would be blind. Cross felt that Matt had the potential to be a killer, and his appearance as a blind man was enough to make most targets let down their vigilance. No wonder the leader asked him to be a lawyer in the new stronghold. Cross also thought he understood everything, thinking that Matt was the reserve member Chu-Mu found. You eat so much, won't you really gain weight? Firefox also felt a jaw-dropping dream about Jiali's food intake. She suspects that Jiali has already received the gift of fate, and the super ability she has won is to eat wildly without gaining weight. There is one thing to say. Firefox is still very envious of this super ability. The doctor said my metabolic function is fine. Jiali responded with a smile without changing her face, and stuffed another piece of marshmallow into her mouth. Her face made even a pretty girl like Firefox feel a wave of heartbeat. So beautiful. Catch, suddenly, there was a crisp sound. Firefox and Cross subconsciously wanted to take out their guns. But it turned out that Sky, who was picking up coffee, broke a glass. Aunt May and others are not surprised by this. Did you not sleep well recently? This is already the 6th glass you have broken. Aunt May walked to Sky with concern. It's okay. Just my hands slipped. Sky's smile was forced, and only she knew that she didn't slip her hands or lose her mind. It was just that the water glass burst suddenly in her hand. Last night she even blew up her beloved earphones last night. Sky looked at his hands. I don't know what happened to me. She didn't dare to tell others about it, for fear of being regarded as a mental illness or a freak by others. Let me clean it. Cross came over with a mop and cleaning tools. After a while, professional, really professional. After the two killers entered the company, Sky praised the professionalism of the two killers more than once, which was many times cleaner than when she was cleaning. The hygiene of the whole company can be described as spotless. We have been doing this job for many years, and being serious is our attitude. Cross smiled modestly, which was nothing more than a trivial matter to them. In the past, when they wanted to assassinate someone, Cross and Firefox often pretended to be cleaners. As a killer criteria. That is, no matter what kind of identity you pretend to be, if you want to avoid unnecessary complications, you must do your job well that this identity should do well. The days of staying in the Star Building. Cross and Firefox actually feel extraordinarily adaptable. Only. Cross thinks that this kind of non-retirement is better than retirement, but Firefox, who is loyal to fate, is thinking about the goal chosen by fate. Has the loom spit out new names? Firefox has to ask Chu-Mu every day. She feels that if she continues to be so comfortable, she may not be able to bear the responsibilities assigned to her by fate. The main reason is that there are too many delicious things on Jiali's side. When the textile machine spits out new names, I will tell you that you have to adapt to the current life, and there will be plenty of time for you to play in the future. Chu-Mu drove Firefox out of the office helplessly. I told you, There were so many tasks before, it was just Sloane's tricks in the dark. Cross stood outside the door and waited for Firefox. After seeing Firefox's disappointed expression, he immediately guessed that Firefox didn't get the list. You have no evidence. I don't want to hear you slander the previous leader. Firefox rolled his eyes angrily and walked away with the cleaning tools. Cross stood on the spot and curled his lips, took a magazine and went to Quicksilver's side. There are no tasks. He is also happy to live this easy life. What are you looking at? Quicksilver put down the newspaper and looked over curiously. Then, he found the door to the new world from the magazine in the hands of the Cross. Oh my god. How could a skinny bikini girl be so big? The special effects are finished. A few more days passed. Seeing that the special effects of the Black Robe pickets were completed, Chu Mu also immediately contacted the TV station about the Black Robes pickets. In terms of connections, today's Chu Mu no longer needs to rely on S.H.I.E.L.D. or the Mutant Academy. The connections of a billionaire are also extremely terrifying. Especially since this billionaire doesn't care about income, he only asks to broadcast his works during the prime time, which makes it difficult for many TV stations to refuse. In today's age, Black Robe pickets is definitely well made. S.H.I.E.L.D. Located in the Sky aircraft carrier at sea. Homelander's recent behavior is very weird. He is frantically buying shares in the Stark Group, as if he is sure that Stark is not dead. The agents have been paying attention to Chu Emu's situation all the time, and naturally they are well aware of Chu Emu's big moves in the stock market. Where did he get the news? Nick Fury was puzzled. It was only today that he got the exact news that Stark was only kidnapped by terrorists, and S.H.I.E.L.D. has not yet investigated the location of the terrorists. However, Chu Mu, seemed to know that Stark was still alive 10 days ago. How could such a strange situation be beyond his comprehension? He admits that Chu Mu is very powerful, even S.H.I.E.L.D. can't afford to provoke him, but even so, the Forbidden Animal Husbandry shouldn't have a more powerful news channel than S.H.I.E.L.D. Never. The intelligence ability on the side of Umbrella Biotechnology is stronger than the intelligence ability of S.H.I.E.L.D. Umbrella Biotechnology has no business in Afghanistan. Maybe supervision. Phil Coulson made a bold guess. If he can fly into space, he might be able to see the situation in every corner of the Earth. Good guy. This is to treat Chu Mu as Superman. Nick Fury gave Phil Coulson a look like he was mentally retarded. Watch less superhero movies, he asked Phil Coulson very seriously. Just look at it occasionally. Phil Coulson avoided eye contact with an awkward smile. Anyway, about Tony Stark's situation, Homelander did receive the news one step ahead of us. Although Natasha Romanoff disagreed with Phil Coulson's opinion, she also felt that Chu Mu might really have some news channel. It can't be that Tony Stark was kidnapped by him, right? Phil Coulson wanted to liven up the atmosphere, but saw Nick Fury's expression became serious. Do you really have such an idea? Phil Coulson was stunned. It's not impossible. Nick Fury showed a worried expression. If Homelander's character in the TV series is really a true portrayal of his own heart, then in order to buy the shares of the Stark Group, he might really use some shady methods. This is obviously confusing the characters in the TV series with reality. Phil Coulson wants to refute that, but think about it carefully. Who can tell how bad a character is that can torture and kill a guy who transforms people on the main road? Hopefully it won't be that way. Heartfelt prayers from Phil Coulson. Earth can't stand the real Homelander wreaking havoc. I think Chu Mu is quite easy to talk to, as long as you don't touch his bottom line. Natasha Romanoff gave his own opinion after pondering for a moment. He set himself as the lawless Homelander in the TV series. In fact, it does not necessarily mean that he really has such a character. It's like an otaku fantasizes that he communicates with many girls at the same time, but when he really meets, most of the lords will choose to escape. She tried to analyze Chu Emu's original intention of writing Homelander from a psychological point of view. It's just that this metaphor is true. Anyway, we must find Tony Stark quickly. Since Chu Mu knows the inside story, then I should send someone to communicate with him. Nick Fury's eyes fell on Phil Coulson. Me? No. I don't want to be in contact with that kind of guy. Phil Coulson recalled the Chu Mu he had seen before. That guy was simply brutal and terrifying. He didn't want his head to be screwed off. Sorry. I'm a rising star in Hollywood, and I'm not up to the task of communicating with Homelander. Natasha Romanoff made a gesture of helplessness. Tone of voice full of ridicule. Let me do all the dirty and tiring work, and I need to give me a few more wages. Phil Coulson could only bite the bullet and accept the task in the end. He is ready. Set off with the determination to die. Chu Mu was surprised. He was actually visited by S.H.I.E.L.D. Definitely. The current S.H.I.E.L.D. is also called the Land Strategic Defense Attack and Logistics Support Bureau, but there is already a tendency to change the name to S.H.I.E.L.D. internally. Is it to protect the contract with Umbrella? Chu Mu looked at the man in front of him. This is a man in a straight black suit, with neatly combed hair, who looks like he will become a Mediterranean man in a few years. As the main character in the S.H.I.E.L.D. Agent series, Chu Mu definitely recognized the man immediately as Phil Coulson, the head of Zinshu village. When he was on the road before, he had seen it from a distance. I'm Phil Coulson, a special agent of the Homeland Strategic Defense Attack and Logistics Support Agency. Phil Coulson first introduced himself to Chu Mu. This name is really a mouthful. Chu Mu put down the Playboy magazine seized from Quicksilver. This evil thing can only be used to poison him and cannot be used to abuse minors. The leader who chose the name prefers this style. Phil Coulson responded with a smile, holding the tea brought in by Aunt May in his hand. After watching Aunt May leave the office, Phil Coulson said to Chu Mu, I wonder if I can spare you a little time? Politeness has always been the most endearing thing about Phil Coulson. Aren't you considering changing the name of the organization? I think the name S.H.I.E.L.D. is very good, and it fits your meddling characteristics. Chu Mu did not answer Phil Coulson's question, but looked at Phil Coulson with great interest, one hand lazily lining his face. He guessed Phil Coulson wasn't here to. Umbrella contracts are for things on the road. Anyway, he's also not afraid of a showdown from S.H.I.E.L.D. It seems that you have some investigation and understanding of our organization. Phil Coulson's smile did not change, but he took a deep look at Chu Mu. He knew what Chu Mu said just now implied deep meaning. Is expressing. The other party knew the details of S.H.I.E.L.D. Is there anything you can do with me? Chu Mu asked with a relaxed expression, knowing that his hint had already had some effect. Unnecessary nonsense must be reduced a lot. We want to know about Tony Stark. Phil Coulson understood Chu Mu's meaning, so he went straight to the point. If I refuse, will a group of agents rush in? Chu Mu looked out the window with great interest. Downstairs area. It seems that there are more vendors selling things. Definitely not. Phil Coulson had a very surprised expression. He was really a liar from the agent's mouth. Chu Mu didn't believe at all that the group of vendors downstairs was just a coincidence. Although I'm not afraid of any agent, that kind of situation will make me very annoyed. We're getting along pretty happily right now, aren't we? Chu Mu turned around. Those calm eyes were full of intriguing feelings. I know this very well. Believe me, the Bureau doesn't want to have any conflicts with you. Phil Coulson's heart was already a little weak. He felt like he was being killed by Chu Mu. After seeing through it, it is obvious that he is wearing professional protective equipment. That's good. Chu Mu smiled with satisfaction. So, can you tell us the location of Tony? The director doesn't usually value that playboy. Then, the price of getting the information. Chu Mu's voice was unhurried. He just tapped on the table lightly. That dull voice already made Phil Coulson feel a lot of pressure. Phil Coulson knew that Chu Mu was seeking benefits and reports from S.H.I.E.L.D. Phil Coulson had never seen anyone who dared to blackmail S.H.I.E.L.D. before. Definitely. He also knows. Chu Mu has the confidence and qualifications to blackmail. Facing such a powerful and uncontrollable unstable factor like Chu Mu, even Nick Fury only gave the order to try to make friends. For such an abnormal order, Phil Coulson couldn't figure out why. Suspicious Nick Fury obviously has no confidence to stand against Chu Mu. The seemingly powerful S.H.I.E.L.D. may be the weaker side in front of Chu Mu. What do you want? Phil Coulson was actually ready to be slaughtered. Vulnerable groups. It is also reasonable to be blackmailed by others.